Alrighty, let's make sure that this is all running just fine. Do. Can I hear me? Can you hear me? What a lovely evening. What an insane evening this is turning out to be. Okay, here we go. Hey there, everyone. Okay, audio's coming through just fine. Woohoo! All right. So, hey, allow me to explain why I was late. About 10 minutes or so ish before the live stream was supposed to begin, a monsoon storm right out of the Bible swept on through, and while I love me an absolutely great storm, it did property damage. This thing is absolutely insane. So I know some of the stuff I will be doing tomorrow. I'll be taking care of a tree and stuff like that. Oy. Well, in any case, here we are. Good to see so many of you people here. Most likely because we will be talking about Murder Drones, since Murder Drones just dropped the series finale trailer tonight, so we will be talking about that. We will also be talking about magical schools later on. So let me just quickly catch up with some of the stuff that we've got going on here. ISO, thank you so much for the compliment to the thumbnail. Matterlad, your brother was trying to hide your computer. Whoops. Oh, glad to see you got it back. You found it in a box under the blankets. What a place to hide it. And you guys are all just chatting. Nina, I saw that you were saying something about writer's block, if I recall correctly here. Was that someone else who was saying that they were currently suffering under writer's block? Hopefully we can help you on out tonight as we go through this. But I do believe that that's kind of the big stuff right there. Yep, I don't have writer's block. Okay, whoo, because writer's block sucks. But I do have art blocks, so I can kind of relate. Yes. When the creativity is just kind of drying up, it sucks when that happens. All right, so let me since we're running a little bit late right here, let's just start diving on into this. To kind of give you guys a preview for what we'll be doing tonight, we'll be talking about Murder Drones episode 8. We'll be breaking some things down, throwing out some theories. One theory that I had, unfortunately, was already destroyed as I broke down the trailer frame by frame, so that was a little disappointing, but I will still share with you guys what I thought I saw, and then I'll then show you that it wasn't what I thought I saw. So we'll do some theory crafting. We will prepare ourselves for all the feels when the final episode drops on the 23rd, and I will then be hard at work doing an analysis and a review for that episode before then switching gears to doing an entire writer's analysis and retrospective on the entire series. One of the reasons why I want to do this, though this is going to be a little bit later on, is that Murder Drones, it has just been absolutely fantastic, but it has not been a perfect story. Now, granted, anyway, you can say that there's no such thing as a perfect story. I will contend that The Lord of the Rings, if you take your time reading through it and appreciate it, The Lord of the Rings is one of the few stories that really gets close to perfection. But that aside, I want us to have a look and see later on at what Liam Vickers has just done so well, because he and the people he's been working with over at Glitch Productions have genuinely put most of Hollywood to shame, and most modern authors right now by just being absolutely awesome with their stories, by being bold in a way that Hollywood can only wish that they could be, and just the passion, but then again also looking at what mistakes were committed, how can we prevent ourselves from committing those same exact blasphemies, problems, tripping over the exact same stumbling blocks. We don't want to do that because we want to improve. So stuff to look forward to. And then once we've talked murder drones completely, I will then be shifting gears to talking about magical schools. This is a thank you to all of you who have helped us to reach 10,000 subscribers here on Camille's Harem. It's just been absolutely incredible to see everyone's support, to actually see us get this far. It has been great. And so one of the things that I said some months ago is that if we reached 10,000 subscribers, not only would I be going over how to write a magical schools, but I will be introducing you guys to never before seen material from one of my own books, and you guys will get the chance to kind of get that first glimpse that no one else will have. So huzzah! So it's kind of a thank you right there. All right. Roblox Down says Lars has committed heresy by the highest accounts. I have committed plenty of heresy in my past, and I will continue to do so. TV account Lars, I don't think there's no such thing as perfect, but close and almost perfect. Yes, and I will argue that The Lord of the Rings is as close to perfect as any story can get, because it's just not so good. And yes, it is cool. All right. So, let's see here. Because of issues surrounding the storm, StreamYard completely reset itself. So I have to quickly go on in and grab up again everything that I'd set up and had been working on. So let me pull up right here the episode 8 trailer.
Absolute silver?
Okay, I already really enjoy the way that they do this particular recap, going back into the creepy cubicle from episode 6, and coming back to the computer, and we then get that creepy elevator music along with the footage. And the footage out of order. I like that it's out of order as well.
We don't know everything yet. We're not gonna hurt you, okay? Oh, what the hell is going on? Promise me you and that purple thing will stop prying into that stuff.
Oh man. So poor Uzi. Just looking Thinking back to everything that has happened in Murder Drones, I think at times that we just get so caught up in the fun of what happens, even the Eldritch horror, that we actually forget just how much Uzi has gone through. This poor little worker drone. She's gone from being neglected and bullied to being an outcast to becoming possessed to being to then being awkwardly brought back into the fold, to then turning cannibal, to then like all of these things that have been happening to this poor little purple thing. Roblox down. Before we begin, do we think that the computer is canon or just for the trailer? Roblox, I think this is just for the trailer. I mean, we did get to see this computer again back in episode 6. And so I just like that we're coming back to this, that we're reusing this aesthetic because it works out really, really well.
I don't know what you're talking about because you won't tell me!
Oh, poor
Why would a worker drone... Was she eating them?
Now right there is some unused footage. Some unused dialogue. Sorry, my bad. Some unused dialogue. That was neat right there. Let me go back to that, just in case you guys this, even though it doesn't necessarily add anything that we didn't already know, but it's neat getting this. Because we know that there were things that were left on the cutting room floor, and I think that they repurposed some of the cutting room floor material for this teaser trailer, for this trailer.
Why would a worker drone... Was she eating them?
Aren't you worried? We have no idea what we even are!
The humans here thought they could understand it. All they did was spread it.
Now, so come back.
Now, the interesting thing about this is that most of the trailer is just the recap. So that was a little bit interesting to me. Marlad asked what isn't unused. So I mean, most of everything except for the line about worker drones eating people. It's not unused dialogue, says Nina. Really? Okay, so from episode 3, from when they get into Doll's room, is when Uzi was looking around Doll's room and saw oil. I'll have to go back to that because I don't recall that specific line. Now, it also says that it was said in Doll's room in episode 3. Okay, I'm going to trust you guys with that.
Thanks for clearing the way on this planet, too. Let's eat.
An unholy battle in space. So everything ends, and it is indeed the series finale. It's sad. It's sad to know that Murder Drones will end with just one season, but let's see what Liam and Glitch have done. I am hoping that it's going to be an absolutely banger finale. And even though I have my doubts that they'll be able to wrap up most of the loose ends, I think it's going to be great. So let's see what we get here. Hey, Iconic is here. Hello, chats. Oh, hello, Goosebumps, says Lord McGurk. Hey, Lord McGurk, it's been a while. Okay. So without any further ado, let's dive into a breakdown of the trailer. The unfortunate thing is that with StreamYard, you can't just slow things down frame by frame. And you can if you plop it on, like, let's say you start sharing screens and doing all different kinds of whatnot. But with my setup, I then lose the chat, which the chat's half the fun here. So, so I've gone through and I've done my own panel by panel breakdown of the episode. Not the episode. Man, where's my brain this evening? My brain's has been left out in the storm. That's where. So what I've done for this particular video that I'm going to show to you guys is that I went through the trailer. I edited out the first 40-ish seconds, which is all just the recap, and instead looked at the new material, at the new footage, and I selected the clearest frames that I could to try to give us an idea of what we're dealing with here, and we'll use this as a basis to begin our theory crafting for what we might expect in the last episode. Void Stars Animation, I need y'all to help me make con scene called Happy Con. Oh man, I love Con, and I love that Con is coming full circle. I remember when we first got to see the pilot episode, and just everyone could agree Con was the absolute worst. And I was like, Con's the absolute worst. And then in the second episode, when Uzi hugs him, and you get just like this briefest of moments where you see the shock on his face, and then he knocks the other drones, and you just get that badass moment. And then he looks up and he sees N, and he has like a stare down with N. Granted, it's only like for like a second, but that he's just like, no. This worker drone standing up to a murder drone where previously he had not and had abandoned his daughter. In that episode, in the second episode, I knew it by heartbeat that we were going to see Khan go on some sort of redemption arc. I called it, and everyone else said I was mad for saying it. And here we are, and now we've got frickin' Happy Khan flying into who knows what. And he's going to do something amazing. I don't think he's going to have a tank. but Khan's going to do something amazing. The guy already used his daughter's schematics to build his own railgun. So, I mean, kudos to Khan. I'm looking forward to this. All right. So, I'm going to try to hop back and forth between the trailer and the different frames that I'm going to show you to see if we can then start piecing together what the heck is going on in this climactic ending episode in battle against an eldritch abomination. I hope he dies to round off his arc. Sorry, Chris. Death does not. You do not need death to have a good redemption story. I'm looking at you, Endeavor, from My Hero Academia. All right. So quickly hopping on back on over here. Let me pull the.
Thanks for clearing the way on this planet too. Let's eat.
All right. So we got these weird tentacle things. Pull it on back again.
Let's eat.
All right. So this is obviously a jump scare little moment here within the trailer. What the heck are we actually looking at? So when I pop back on over here. So again, this was really hard to get anything decent from this particular shot. What we do have, so this is a corridor of the scythes and the weird legs that Sin has enjoyed using. Sinessa is so pooky. ISO says, I guarantee that those are tentacles are the Solver's real form. I would argue that they are indeed part of the Solver's true form. That Absolute Solver is down at the bottom of just this amalgamation of body parts. Because when you again go frame by frame, it's really hard to tell at some points, but the speed allows you to see that these are the really weird leg things that Sin has enjoyed using whenever she shows her eldritch form. So let me actually pop back on here. Just that way you guys can see it again. And
Let's
we'll then
eat.
jump onto the next page. Yeah, kind of. Well, I'm a comedian. I guess at the second comment you laughed out of mine. Help. The best way to do comedy, Void, is that you got to be in front of people because comedy feeds off of the audience. I'd sacrifice my life for that father robot. I'd sacrifice my life for him too, and for Nori, and for Uzi. I want the family to be reunited, even if they're all wonky and broken. Who cares? Because the Dormans deserve a moment of happiness. All right, so did she just do a peace sign? Yes. A really creepy peace sign. She's doing a peace sign with both her robot hand and with Tessa's animated corpse. All right, so here we have Sin wearing Tessa's body completely out in the open. They were not pulling their punches with this with this trailer, showing off all the gory detail of just this corpse being reanimated. Oh boy. Lord McGurk says, to be honest, I haven't a clue of what's happening, so I won't be much help with theory crafting this time. Well, Lord McGurk, take the moment to start binging the show. Real quick, you can do it. I can do. Cute Sinessa would hug. Yeah, would hug and get stabbed by the thing and then eaten. She looks like she's doing a Naruto thing. Forgot what it's called. That she's doing one of her little jujitsu stances, or ninjutsu, I should say. Still hoping for a true form Absolute Solver, Mojo. Oh, we are going to get it because that's what this episode's going to be all about. Taking the fight to Absolute Solver itself. So this is just letting us know through this shot right here that the jump scare creature that we got in the last episode wasn't just a one and done deal. We are going to fight Eldritch Abomination Sinessa, and it is going to be absolute bonkers. Hey, Dorcas Daydreams, you made it. And just the sassy creepiness. I love my sassy and everything, but this is just creepy right here. All right, so for the next little frame, this is it. This is an interesting little shot. I don't know if we're actually going to see this happen in episode 8, since we've already gotten enough establishing shots to let us know how there have been gravity issues on Copper 9. But here we have, in the middle of Nori's kooky crazy stuff, we have her papers as well as Uzi's floating all around. We have the image of the hollow spooky snake crab just floating right there, as well as the hole that Nori drew. And actually, if we go back to this image, not that image, to this image, we kind of get an idea of what that hole is. It's the gaping maw that leads you to Absolute Solver, this disgusting thing. So, again, just to remind us as the audience that this is what it's all been about. We've been leading up to this moment where we'll finally know what the hey is going on here. Let's see here. So the last horror genre for murder drones is Eldritch Horror. Eldritch Horror, Dorcas Daydreams, has kind of been what's been going on this whole time. I don't exactly know which horror subgenre we are going to really be paying homage to in this particular episode. My guess would be that we are going full space horror. So think along the lines of Alien, but with just way more action to it, and against a planet that's eating people. This will be interesting. This will genuinely be very interesting to see. And I personally have a theory right here that this final episode has kind of been the thing that Liam Vickers originally had in his mind. So there's a difference between knowing as a writer what you're building up to, and then there's you as the writer, what originally prompted the whole story, and you're like, wow, how do I get here? A good example of this is Deltarune from Toby Fox. Toby Fox said that he has a particular moment in mind. It is going to be the climax of the game, and that's what inspired it. That's what he's building up to, and that climax doesn't look anything at all like what he introduces us to in the first chapter of Deltarune. And that's because he's going to build up to it, because whatever he has in mind is just too over the top. It's too crazy to just jump into it. And I think that Liam Vickers very much is the same way, where he's like, I have this amazing horror idea in mind of fighting against a planet that's trying to eat you. How do I get here? And I genuinely believe that that's where he began. And because we know that he loves the psychotic girls and the anxious male protagonists. We know that that's his MO, but an MO does not inspire a story. It's how you begin to tell your story, your modus operandi, how you're going to tell it. I think that this last episode is what originally inspired him to make Murder Drones. I would have to ask him to confirm that, but that's my theory, and I'm running with it. Canon theory, I hope, says Nina. The cool S is what is keeping Uzi alive. It's Uzi protection and luck. So long as that S exists, her plot armor will never run out. Marilad Toriel turns out to be the knight. No, I mean, I could kind of see it, but we're diving into Toriel's mind in the 3rd chapter, so I don't think we're going to quite get, I don't think that's going to be quite the thing. But then again, who knows? Maybe the knight is the friends we made along the way. Void says, I bet N is going to die. There's a good chance that N could die. But I still am sticking by my theory that that N is probably going to outlive a lot of the other characters. We're just going to see. We're going to have to see what happens. All right, so moving on from this. So we then get to Uzi. She's in a creepy hallway, and she's got a smear of oil across her face. As we're going to see through a number of the different frames and shots, I'm fairly certain that we're going to end up somehow, like that Uzi is either going to end up somehow back on Copper 9 before all of this is done, before we have the big climactic battle, or this could be the case that she goes onto the surface of Absolute Solver itself, which might be a little bit more in line with what's going to happen, and that we're going to see these different structures, the body of Absolute Solver in its weird amalgamated form, and she's going to have to work her way towards the core. So as Void says right here, yeah, we get to see her as a meteorite, and we do see one of the signature planets in Copper 9's sky right behind her. This doesn't confirm if she's going to be ending up on the surface of Absolute Solver or if she's returning to Copper 9. Chances are, though, she's going to survive anything. It'll be landing on Absolute Solver's surface, since Absolute Solver probably doesn't have its own atmosphere surrounding its body. So we'll just, again, we're going to have to see, or at least not much of an atmosphere, because you actually don't get that burning impact of coming on in unless there's atmosphere for you to bounce off of. Science. Haha. So we won't really know what's happening here in this shot until we get to know where exactly she is, but it's very clear. We got oil, injuries, she's weirded out, and we come finally to Jay. Yay! Jay's going to have development. Woohoo! Because right here we get to see that Jay is a little bit perturbed, is a good word for this. It's the way that she's cocking one eyebrow, knitting her brow together. She has the fright lines underneath her eyes. The way that her mouth is kind of cocked back is just like, what am I looking at right here? And she'll be reacting to that as we get in the next frame, because still with those fear lines, with the knitted together brow, she lifts up her hand cannon, a literal hand cannon. And I've been saying this for a little while, that Jay needs to have some kind of arc here within the story. She absolutely loves Tessa. And I think that this entire time in her weird addled brain, she's believed that she has been working with the real living, breathing Tessa, not realizing that it's Absolute Solver and Sin wearing her corpse. And I think that this is going to be that moment where she realizes, oh no, oh crud, and will fight back against it. Because bringing back, so if we think about it from a narrative perspective, yeah, sure, you can bring back Jay. And if you're going to use Jay as a villain, she's been absolutely underutilized as a villain since after episode 2. Because we get her in the pilot, and then we get her corpse being used to attack and kill people in episode 2. And after that, she's been away, she's been on the periphery, her clone has been. And if you're going to use her again as a villain to try to sabotage the other worker drones and everything, we get just a very brief glimpse of that at the end of episode 7. but she is underutilized. Absolutely. And it's even kind of hinted at within the story that, yeah, that's what's happening, which is why she gets a little bit upset when Tessa tells her to stick behind with the ride. So as a villain, she's underutilized. But as a potential protagonist, as an ally, her arc can begin right here with facing the one thing that she absolutely fears the most. And because Sin has manipulated these drones, has used their passions, their emotions, and their thoughts and dreams and everything against them, like how she has absolutely manipulated and destroyed N and V. This is the moment where you get to see what she has truly done to Jay. And Jay is in a position to do something about it. And what she does is what will either mark her as a character who can be redeemed or as someone who will just remain a villain. And at this point, it's just kind of, there's no real substance or fun to continue using her as a villain, but to make her a reluctant ally. Then you can have a whole lot more fun with that. Allied brings up, yeah, she does hate Sin. Roblox is down, says, I did a major analysis and I can conclude that Jay gets at least one rocket off at Sin based on the fact that we get to see a rocket flying towards Sin in a future scene. Yes, we will be getting to that. Thank you for bringing that up, Roblox. Nina says, theory 1, based off of that Jay frame and the banner, Jay will realize that Tessa is dead and just follows Sin because she is in denial that she's dead. Ooh. Oh, that's a sad way to go, but that is possible. It could still go down that way. And that she accepts her death. Void says, wait, my main question is if Uzi dies mad thing meant anything. The Uzi's little sign of die mad is just another way for her being rebellious. Like don't give in, even against the inevitability of death, continue resisting. Why? Because that's what angsty teenagers do. And it's also kind of a way of just letting N know that she's not necessarily giving up, but that it's her choice to go down the pit and to save him, and for him to keep on fighting. But there's actually a lot of things you can read into that particular message. It isn't just simply being flashed up there to simply be funny. There is meaning to her saying die mad. I'm Omega, just like Star-Lord and his father. You know what? I'm Omega, in a really weird way, yes, this is like Star-Lord and his father. Wow. Star-Lord versus Ego. We're kind of going to get that a little bit when the fight begins. Wait, Jay's still under Sin's admin thing. Kinda. We're going to see what happens, because yes, Sin does have administrative hold over most of the other drones. But Sin enjoys torturing others. She enjoys watching them struggle. So even though she has the kill switch, she doesn't use it unless she absolutely has to get what she wants, because she enjoys hurting people that way. And that's kind of her weakness. That teasing, that toying around means that she's letting these characters live longer than she should let them, because now it gives them a chance to learn, to grow, and to come back later on. TV Count says, I don't think it's Sin, more like Solver with Sin's body parts at this point. It is mostly Absolute Solver, but as we've talked about in the past, Absolute Solver seems to assimilate certain qualities of whoever it's possessing. So in the episode Heartbeat, we get language that is somewhat reminiscent of J that is used by Absolute Solver, and in most other moments the language that's being used is a little bit more cutesy and silly, which fits with a younger drone like Sin, because we can kind of guess that Sin, before Absolute Solver took her, probably had a little bit more of a bubbly personality. And I mean, why not? Nina says, oh wait, I thought of a scenario that would sound great if it was in the episode. Well, you have to share it with us. TV Count says, I feel like once it's over, I'll go back and rewatch the whole thing again. Well, I know I absolutely will. Isa says, Sin did accept the Solver. So what happens if she rejects it now, or is it too late? That is an excellent question. And maybe that's one that will actually get answered. It's kind of hard to tell. Scooty Booty, the saltiest snack is the tears of your enemies. Add that into the Conan the Barbarian message of what's the best way to live. Drive them before you, hear the lamentations of their women, and drink the salty snack of the tears. Scott's just here to cause chaos. Chaos. Yay. Good to have you here, Scott. All right. So let's jump on ahead then to the next one. So the tentacles. So here we have Absolute Solver. Looks like Absolute Solver is tearing stuff apart with its fantastic tentacles and bringing everything probably a bit like the Sarlacc pit into its greedy gullets. Kakyo's here. Yay! Yes, you are late, but it's great to have you here nonetheless. Thank you so much for showing up. So Absolute Solver with the tentacles, breaking things down, eating it. I was trying to figure out what this thing to the left side of the screen was. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, what exactly is going on here. It could be one of the pods. It could be a drone. It could be something else. I don't know what it is. I kept going back, and I'm not entirely sure. If this is indeed the pod, I think that this is when they try to fly the pod to the Absolute Solver to fight it, and then maybe it grabs the pod and starts tearing it apart, because you might be able to glimpse at the very bottom of the screen that there's something that looks a lot like a door right there at the very bottom. So maybe this is the pod. I don't know definitively if that's what we're looking at. Tentacles? I didn't think it was that kind of show. Oh, just you wait, Scott. I'm Omega. You just brought up Benzai's shtick in Suburban Nights with the lamentation of their women. Yes. Scott, you're being a fantastic Chaos Gremlin. Thank you so much. Doors. Yes, they should have built better doors for this capsule, if it is the capsule. Mojo says, imagine N obtains the Absolute Solver's power, but is able to use it better than the Solver itself. I believe this is because N in Glitch secretly kept showing Solver in his eyes. Well, we do know, Mojo, that Absolute Solver has controlled N for a good portion of N's long life of being a murder drone, has manipulated him, has used him, has tortured him, has fried his brain. So it bears to reason that Absolute Solver absolutely would pop up in the Glitch Inn, but maybe you're right that it is a little Easter egg of things yet to come. We'll just have to wait and see. ISO says, if this thing is in space and not in the Solver's realm, as I theorize, then I think that the beacon that Sin shot into space is what called it. Okay. I think that could be the case, that this is a beacon that was shot on up, and that now that's what's brought the giant consuming planet. Nina, Jay is being controlled by Sin while she is suffering from knowing the person she loved is so much is dead. So she just follows Sin and snaps her out of it and helps Jay escape. And Sin fights back. I like that idea. That could actually be what happens, Nina. And that'd be interesting to see. It would give N a good little hero's moment to be the one to turn Jay against Absolute Solver, especially since Jay has always been so down and hard on N. So that would be really neat to see. Roblox, imagine this. The gang defeats Sin and Uzi does a dramatic speech about friendship. Then the screen zooms out and it's just Sin in the Elliott mansion and she says, giggle. That would be funny. And then we woke up. It was all Sin's dream. Zekraj or Zekroy, however you, I think that's a J. Asks, quick question. Do you think there will be any deaths in episode 8? Yes. Yes, there will be deaths. So let's go happiest timeline. Let's go darkest timeline. Happiest timeline is that Absolute Solver is the only one who dies. That's the happiest timeline. I mean, we're done with deaths. Maybe even V shows up, and we're like, oh, V is back! Yay! Happiest timeline right there. Darkest timeline is this: that Khan is going to die trying to save Uzi, and that will be that will be sad, but it will give him at least some completion to his arc. I don't particularly like that going down that route, but well, he had left his daughter for dead, and now he's willing to die for her. So that's great. And Nori's like, oh man, that's the guy that I fell in love with. So Khan dies. Nori will not die in the darkest timeline. She will stay as the little beating heart thing that she is to help En. En will survive. Uzi will die because Uzi is basically the key to defeating Absolute Solver with the way that she has basically assimilated its powers. She's been able to fight back. She can use it against Absolute Solver. Probably she will fall into this raging tentacle hole and destroy it from within. Could be what happens. Thad will die, unfortunately, but that will be to get the fans angry at Absolute Solver and want its death even more. Lizzie dies to bring back to motivate Eldritch V, because I still do not believe that V is fully dead. V comes back, Eldritch Abomination V, and Eldritch Abomination V dies. Jay dies trying to take down Absolute Solver and get back at this Eldritch Abomination for everything that is done. And so that ultimately leaves, of the party that's left to fight against Absolute Solver, En and Nori. En and Nori, I think, are the two characters in the darkest timeline who survives. And you might be wondering, well, why not Uzi? I mean, because Uzi's got plot armor. That comes back to the pilot episode. She's got plot armor. And the reason for that being is that with all the things that Uzi has done willingly, in the tit for tat of the cosmic justice, she kind of deserves death, even though none of us absolutely want that, and because this is a Lovecraftian story. The hero is broken in some kind of way. The hero either dies or is broken. And En is going to be the one to very likely survive this. He will be the one who is left broken, and that would then mean that Uzi is the one who has to die. So that is the darkest timeline. I actually don't think that that's what's going to happen now, especially since we know that this is going to be the end of the series. While it is going to be a Lovecraftian ending, which means there will be consequences. There will be death. There will be maimings. There's going to be nightmares and all different kinds of stuff. Chances are we're not going to see a very high body count of our main characters. So that is my assessment. I could be absolutely proven wrong. Liam has done a fantastic job of undermining my guesses and theories throughout this series. Even when I was calling out the program back in the pilot, it was not what I thought it was. I thought it was a hacker that was breaking into Uzi and was going to be kind of this third-party entity in the war between drones and humans. Turns out that the war between drones and humans is long since concluded, and that the so-called hacker that I thought about, this third party who was using the Absolute Solver program, turns out that Absolute Solver is the big enemy. So Liam Vickers has done an excellent job of undermining my theories as I go along, and I am happy to be proven wrong in any of this, so long as the story is told well. Moj asks, would you rather have V and Lizzie lesbian kiss scene or En and Uzi Wally hand holding scene? Moja, I will say this: if we get V and Lizzie kissing, that would be absolutely out of left field. There are fans who are going to absolutely love it. We didn't get enough development between those two, other than what we saw of friendship, of the besties supporting each other. That at least from my writing perspective, I would say shoehorned in pandering. And I've had enough pandering. I don't want it. If you're going to give me that, You got to develop it. If you develop it, fantastic. There's been more effort put into the relationship between N and V that it would just be, it just come out of nowhere. And I don't like seeing that happen because that's lazy. That's cashing in laziness for brownie points, and brownie points never translate over to actual brownies. If you're going to give me a good lesbian scene, it better be well established, because you know what? LGBTQ plus representation has been done abysmally across so many shows, movies, and books, and I'm not here for that. And when it comes to a Wally hand-holding scene, we've already gotten the hand-holding. If you're going to get Newsy to go all the way, give us the kiss or give us the spark. Because you had the spark between N and V, and that was actually one of the cutest things within the entire show. And I think it'd be interesting to see that happen between N and Uzi. But there you have it. That is my opinion on it. Oh, we got a cat in the box. Yeah, I love cats in the box. I got a big fat cat right here next to me. Roblox says there was never a war against drones and humans. There was a farming campaign against drones and bipedal sheep. Perfectly put. Perfectly put. That would be like if N and J kiss. Crazy. Why in the world? Exactly. Because yeah, N and J have just not had their relationship. I don't want to see that. It would be forced. It would come out of nowhere. That's not needed. Okay, tell me your top 10 LGBTQ couples that are non-toxic. Sad thing is, Shay, to answer that question, is that there's very few that aren't toxic. And that's one of the reasons why I get so upset when it just gets shoehorned in, because usually it's just shoehorned in. It's not exactly built up. While Princess Bubblegum has a lot of problems to go through, her relationship with Marceline is actually well developed. So Marceline, the Vampire Queen, and Princess Bubblegum is a good one that I have seen. I just read an absolutely horrible one, so I'm not going to add that one to the list. No way, no how. There is an interesting homosexual crush that is being developed in the Stormlight Archive between two characters, but I'm not going to share what that one is because I think that's something that people should try to discover on their own. But then again, that's just the problem. There's just not enough. There's not enough good, positive LGBTQ plus relationships that I've actually seen in fiction. And that's one of the reasons why I would not want to just see a kiss between V and Lizzie just out of the blue, because it's not been well established. It's not been well developed. If you're going to do it, put in the time, like what we got from the Owl House, because the Owl House did it well. Not between Rain and Ida. No. That is an awful toxic relationship, and I will not stand for that. But between Luz and Amity, that was good. I like that. The shipping wars days ago, if you didn't know, it should have ended a long time ago. All right, moving on. Enough with the shipping. Yeah, well, actually, I do have a new shipping video idea in mind, but I am going to save that for later. Barney X Logs, dead end. Fantastic. You always say N is going to beat the ever-living crap out of the solver himself. Oh, yes. N will win because N is the hero. He's the hero we need, and he is definitely the hero that we don't deserve. So let us move on now from these tentacle monstrosities in the conversation of shipping. TV Count says someone says here that you think there would be a possibility of a speed off or sequel in the world. What do you think, Lars? I don't think it's possible. That's going to come down to whatever Glitch wants to do. I don't exactly know what the exact contract is between them and Liam. However, if the contract between Glitch Productions and Liam is anything like the industry standard, that means that Glitch Productions owns murder drones. They can do with murder drones whatever they want. It is Liam Vicker's story. And from what we have heard and from what we have seen, they gave Liam as much freedom as he wanted, as much freedom as he needed to tell the story that he could to the best of his abilities. As a result of that, that's one of the reasons why we've seen the show actually do so well, because it's been kind of Liam Vicker's Unhinged. So once this is over, they could do whatever they want with murder drones. They've already been monetizing murder drones, and chances are that they will continue to monetize murder drones in various ways and use those characters in the Glitch Inn, and even maybe for some possible chibi spin-offs and other things later on down the road. They own it. They can do it whatever they want. So they can have a spin-off series. However, I think that if they do decide to do a spin-off series for Murder Drones, that they will try to bring Liam back, because that is the only way that it's going to really gain again like the fans' appreciation and the fan support to make it a good show and profitable. Oh, Nina, sorry to see you go. Hope you have a great day, night, or wherever you're at. Thanks for being here with us. Yes, so Void says we've got Meteorite Uzi. Yes, and I'm gonna hop back on over. Oh, Scott, you're also leaving us? Ah, darn. Thanks, Scott, for dropping in and being a fantastic Chaos Gremlin, as always. Love you, buddy. So let me actually quickly jump on over to the trailer proper. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, thinking about that particular moment in isolation, I don't know about the rest of you, but it absolutely looks like something out of Super Smash Brothers. That's not what I'm thinking of right here. This is like a little Super Smash Brothers moment. Super Saiyan Uzi, where I don't think we're quite there yet. Yes, the tail railgun. Oh, we are going to get to the tail railgun here in just a moment, ISO. TV count. So she really was in space? Yes, she really was in space. This is where things get interesting. This is where we get that eldritch magic, horror, and abominations, and all that good jazz. So whatever was being done down below the surface within the Cabin Fever labs, I believe that it had been a ritual to bring Absolute Solver to Copper 9. I guess it's not really the case. That ultimately Absolute Solver went down there to get rid of the last device that the humans had created that could be used against it. Maybe not to destroy it permanently, but at least to stop it. And if it can be stopped for just any moment of time, with Uzi wielding its powers against it, she could use Absolute Solver against itself and absolutely destroy it. And so that's why it needed to get down to Cabin Fever Labs before bringing the entirety of its body there in order to wipe out Copper 9. Yes, the USB patch. Exactly, Void. Radon when you reach phase 2. It's absolutely true. And the moment that you know that you can easily dodge Radon, you just got to go over to one area and then walk on over to the other side and let him hit that spot. Then second phase Radon gets easy after the patch. Pre-patch Radon is a different question entirely. But I think this kind of supports the theory that Uzi is going to fall down to the surface of the Absolute Solver planet itself, and that's probably where she's going to end up facing off against Sinessa. And then, yes, we finally get to the tail wielding the railgun. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I love this right here. I love that Uzi is using her tail to hold up this railgun. What else is she going to do then with her hands? I don't know. Maybe she's going to start doing absolute solver stuff and like try to manipulate things while blasting stuff with her tail. That would be really cool to watch. Watch Uzi multitask. The tail became epic. The tail was always epic, but the tail is now extra deadly. TV account. I feel like after this, fans might make their own versions of if there was a season 2, AUs, me included. Yeah, I'm actually thinking that depending on how the show ends, I think it'd be fun to do at least one Murder Drones fanfic. I mean, I barely have any time with all of the writing I'm doing, but hey, I'd like to try it out. Roblox. According to the trailer, Uzi's clothes can sustain 1,648.9 degrees Celsius temperatures, 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for those of the superior measurements of, and not just clothes, her hair as well. Those are some titanic clothing and hair. I'd love to know what kind of fabric softener she's using that allows it to have that kind of flame and ice resistance. I says it looks like an energy minigun. Yes. You better get away from here. I have my little energy minigun here attached to my tail. You will never get behind me now. Void says I'm making a spinoff. Hey, go ahead and do it. Mojo, if N is going to beat the ever-living crap out of the solver, N must be given the best music for that kind of scene. Cue the anime boss music suited for N. Ahem. I'm hanging on to the other side. I'm Omega. Hey, are you going to go over the Gaslight District when it comes out? If the Gaslight District is awesome, I'm Omega. Yes, I am really looking forward to the Gaslight District. I have no idea really what it is all about. I know that the creator has his own YouTube channel where he's already dropped some hints, and I'm kind of holding off, at least for right now. Once Murder Drones is done and once we get a little bit more confirmation about how far along the Gaslight District is, then I think I'll start looking a little bit more into that story and then prepping myself for that first episode. Because if Murder Drones and the Amazing Digital Circus are anything to go by, the Gaslight District is going to be amazing. ISO says, hey, she's a magic robot, and you're concerned about her accessories? Yes, I am, because we may want those accessories. Shade says, hopefully will not add up to the same mess as Undertale AUs, the storylines, the crossovers, the fat animation, all crazy. Well, we'll see. That's one of the things that fans have been getting better at. Fans have been, like, there's still plenty of cringe fan fiction out there, but now there's so much amazing fan fiction out there and so many great fan projects with music videos, fan animation, and everything, like what we got with the intermission episode for Murder Drones. That was fantastic, and I think that we're going to get to see more of that stuff in the future. Doom music for Uzi. I'm wanting to see it. VVX Game Lord says the Tails gun looks like yes, indeed. I wonder if it blows up all the enemies instantaneously within her line of sight. Since we know that railguns are powered by drone kidneys or livers, then we could see Uzi chucking out drone organs to make the railgun a rail minigun. Starts just using all the different components and bits and pieces all around Absolute Solver and just keeps reconfiguring the gun to do amazing stuff with it. Yes, ISO Intermission was a fantastic fan animation. Absolutely 100%. And I'm looking forward to doing that video before we get to the finale for Murder Drones. All right, and then here we got this creepy scene. As you'll see, Sin is blasting out the lights and is doing other creepy things, trying to put most likely Uzi back into absolute darkness, so that way she can take Uzi apart and kill her. This probably is very likely on the surface of Absolute Solver, since we know that the portal that Sin used led back to that planet out into space. So chances are that Sin's not back on Copper 9, and that Uzi most likely isn't back on Copper 9 either. But there are people who are back on Copper 9 who are going to be bringing the cavalry. Such as Jay right here. I like this right here. I love what's happening with her scope in this shot. Now then, it's difficult to tell what exactly is going on here. Chances are this is also on the surface for Absolute Solver. There's a part of me that wants to say that what's happening immediately behind her, so to her right, but onto the left of your screen, that's probably damage that was just dealt by Absolute Solver while trying to hit Jay. And this is, I think, in my opinion, good confirmation that Jay will be turning against Absolute Solver with the way that she's acting right here. ISO says, I think Sin is chasing after N as he tries to escape. Interesting. So you think that she might still be on Copper 9. Her head spin reminds me of Moon from FNAF Security Breaches trailer. Creepy. TV Count says, we'll make what we've learned from Murder Drones. Do's and don'ts videos once it's over. Will I be doing that, TV account? Yes, I will. I will be doing a do's and don'ts, the writing lessons that we can learn from Murder Drones once the series is done. I'll be doing a review and analysis for the episode, and then I'll take some time to really go through the entire series and compile a good list of do's and don'ts and some great lessons of what we can learn by looking at specific scenes and the flow of the overall show. So moving on right here, anime music. Yeah, welcome to the mind of a different kind where we've been growing slowly. Jay reminds me of the demon troopers from the Kamen Rider review. Is that actually the word right there? I'm Omega Revice. Whoop. So again, right here, just real quick, we've got Jay. We got Jay using her fantastic weapon. Yeah. I want to pull that back. So yeah, Jay with her weapon. And then we get that disgusting shoe and foot from Sinessa. It's so sad. I love my Aussie girl, and now she's just a puppeted corpse. But I like what we get to see here with this little bit. So if we pop back on, whoop, it's just like a blink and you miss it kind of a moment. The reason why I went with that is reason why I went with that particular look of the shoe and the foot was because to me it's just further confirmation of that Sin is really just using this corpse, and there's some significance to that, I believe. I'm interested in seeing if we get to explore why Absolute Solver is so obsessed with wearing Tessa's corpse. And because we get so many shots of her in this trailer, it's meant to communicate to us, the audience, that she is meant to have a presence within this episode. So popping back on over here. Whoop. So this is what was brought up earlier, where we get to see the rockets getting fired, most likely from Jay, at Sin, and how she just easily weaves and bobs out of the way. This is a really cool frame right here. I like this, and I like knowing that we're going to get this one-on-one or at least face-to-face fight. Hopefully, more people, because I don't think Jay can handle Sin all by herself. Game Lord says Jay is cute, and I still ship her and doll with the character of myself. Mojo, anime music. I think I'm on 11, but I'm on 9. Guess you don't really know me. Roblox. N has one scene in the trailer. If you haven't noticed, one. And I have noticed. And I think that's because they are going to keep all of the best stuff a mystery. Because N has got to have his awesome moments. One extra scene for clarity. Judging by the purple light, it could be Uzi, is what TV account says. I'm going to bring up that sometimes colors can't be the only thing that we go off of, but it would be cool if that's Uzi that's go up against her in that scene. Here we have N looking worried. There's his one scene. Or I'm in denial. I'm always in denial of many things, but I haven't yet been in denial. But when I'm in denial, I will definitely be in denial. So here we have Uzi being confronted by Sin. Ugh, the extra hands. It's so creepy. Which coming back to earlier, why I think that when we looked at the shot of Sin being in the hallway, taking out the light and everything, that is ultimately her hunting Uzi. Uzi is on the face of Absolute Solver. So too is Sin. They are going to have their confrontation. Uzi is going to have to try to survive as long as she can against Absolute Solver. Hopefully she runs into Nori in time. Chances are that Nori is going to show up later on, that really this is going to be Uzi on her own against this Eldritch Abomination. And like I said, aliens. I think that ultimately that's probably the movie that we're going to see the most obvious references to, as far as like fighting an eldritch horror, this abomination in space. And Alien is a fantastically claustrophobic, awful story of just this unrelenting monster hunting you in a space that you can't really escape from. And if you try to get out, well, you're in space. What can you do? And I think that that's kind of what Uzi is going to be going up against, and that this is probably where we get the real height of the tension right before any of the heroes come to save Uzi, is I think what we're seeing here in this particular shot. Shade asks, I have a question. Do you think Murder Drones will break the cycle of bad endings? There's plenty of shows that have excellent endings. I think that Murder Drones will have a very Lovecraftian ending, which usually those aren't good happy endings. Just gonna say. Oh, he has two scenes if you don't count prior scenes in the beginning. Yep, we got N charging in. Don't exactly know what's happening here, because again, I believe that they're saving the best N stuff for episode. Another classic example of space abominations is The Thing. Excellent points. The Thing is definitely. I think that as far as The Thing goes, the closest that we've so far gotten to The Thing has been references in the second and fourth episode. We definitely got some really heavy influences from The Thing bleeding into those episodes, which was great to see. Cheerios, when they say V, who knows? Again, I still believe that V is somehow alive. We'll just have to see. And if she's dead, well, then I'll just have to eat my words and she's dead. I would absolutely hate that, because I think that there's still a little bit more left to her. And again, the core can still survive. So, woohoo. I vote that Lizzie saves Sin. Scott, is that you again? Keki asks, who do you think will save Uzi from Sin? I think it's going to be N. I think that N will be the one to save Uzi from Sin, and that then we'll have to face off between Sin and Jay. That Jay will kind of like take point at the beginning of that fight. That's what I suspect is going to happen. Mojo says, for some reason I had a vision here that in this frame it's the solver making N accidentally killing Uzi. Want me to elaborate? Sure, feel free to elaborate. Game Lord says, I hope at least that they have somewhat of a positive / happy ending at least. TV Count says there's no such thing as a bad ending, but abrupt ones. Oh, there's definitely bad endings, but there's also plenty of abrupt ones. Chaos Gremlin has access now. Yep, Scott's back. Scott is now back. Puppeting the Camille's Harem account. Great to have you back, Chaos Gremlin. Roblox says Sin could be doing the things she did in episode 7 where she appears as V. Could happen. And she could also appear as N to help torture Uzi. She's definitely not above doing that. Void says, oh, by the way, the trailer dropped 20 minutes after I got home from a bad day. Immediately made it better. I was back to a bad day. This life started now. Here I'm happy. Hey, Void, I'm happy that you are at least getting some happy moments in your day, and I hope that tomorrow gets better for you. So let's move on then to the next frame. Ah, yes. This is a great shot right here of Sin leaping after Uzi. This is going to be part of probably their fight. The moment where she corners Uzi right before the other heroes show up is again my guess. Hey, you get $1,000 tomorrow. Fantastic. Spend wisely. And I'm looking forward to the showdown. And why? Sin, I will never forgive you for what you've done to my fantastic Aussie gal. Jump scare has to be what she says. I hope that she says jump scare because I love how Sin narrates what she does. And here we have it at last. Happy Khan flying his way through. I think that this is him flying through space to get to his daughter. Who exactly knows what is happening in this moment? But Khan is he's having his hero moment right here, and I am absolutely here for it. Let's see here. KQS, we didn't see Lizzie or Thad in the trailer. Where are they? I believe that they're still here. I believe that they're still very much well within the story. We just don't yet know what they're going to do. And again, remember that someone sent a message to Lizzie, telling her to show on up, and Khan wasn't the one to do it. Khan was doing his own thing. So stuff is happening. We just don't know who's speaking. Again, I think that it's V doing her thing, reaching out to Lizzie, helping to pull strings to undermine Sin. I would absolutely love to see that. So I think that we're going to see Lizzie and Thad doing some funny things and some helpful things on the side, but not really take point or center stage in the final fight. Every good hero needs to have their support character, and Lizzie and Thad are most definitely great support characters. And we really needed more of them. Mojo says, for my previous comment, imagine this is kind of a scene where the protagonist is ready to kill the antagonist until they just put up one of the protagonist's friends in front of the antagonist. Ah, yes, it's the classic trope. You won't hurt me because I have your friend or your loved one, which is why I love Kenpachi Zaraki from Bleach. Because if anyone's like, this is the person you love most, he's like, sweet, okay. And then he just kills the illusion, or he straight up just kills whoever's pretending to be the person that he loves the most. They're like, why would you do that? And he's like, because I like killing stuff. And I was like, even if it's someone that I really loved, if they oppose me from doing what I want to do, of course I'm going to kill them. I'm Kenpachi Zaraki here. Kenpachi Zaraki. The Bleach could have had an entire spin-off series of just him murdering stuff, and it would be the best-selling manga aside from One Piece. Hey, Giovanni's here. Welcome. Yep, so we get plenty of Happy Khan. Who knows what Khan is doing, but man, I wish him the absolute best. Game Lord says that does not look happy. It looks like he's screaming at someone. Oh, he is. He probably is screaming either at himself or at his daughter or at his wife as he's speeding away towards her, or at Absolute Solver before he crashes into it. Who knows? but Khan is here, and I'm absolutely loving it. TV Ken says, I think it looks like terrified Khan. He could be terrified. I mean, the guy isn't necessarily the most courageous individual, but there is more to him. He's not the coward that he once was. Khan's face when he sees Nori. This could very well be the case. It's like, Nori? I'd know that little beating, walking heart anywhere. Plasma frame, it does show N seemingly charging at something with both his swords out angry, but then he becomes shocked. Quite could be the case. I hear Kane laughing when I look at Khan. Pomni, it's time to go build some doors. All right. So moving on from happy, screaming, terrified, exuberant, whatever else he is, Khan. I'm just happy that we're going to see him come back again as the dad and just be awesome. All right. So this is where I had a theory, and I had to go back frame by frame, and my theory died. I was a little bit sad, but it's still, but you know what? I'm happy. I'm still happy. So here we have the pod, repurposed, flying off from Copper 9, bringing the heroes with it, who are going to be on their way to smash up Absolute Solver and to help save Uzi. What I thought when I first looked at this was that the drones were hanging on the outside. Because remember, these pods are really small. They can only fit so many people. And in this pod, we have to fit Khan, we have to fit N, J, Thad, Lizzie, very possibly an Eldritch Abomination V. So that could be anywhere between 5 to 6 people. It's a lot of people to fit in a small pod that was meant to contain 3 drones. So I was like, oh, maybe these drones are hanging out here on the side. And I thought that because to the purple coloring, because in one of the shots, it all right, guys, I'm back. It wasn't your internets. It was my internets. That's so freaking dumb. Sorry about that, guys. My internet decided to just absolutely take a dump right here, right now. So I'm back. All right. I'm just gonna hop back on into this and get this over with before my internet decides to go crazy again. Fun note: even in basic Discord calls, Lars's internet does this too. Yes, weirdly enough, the internet in my area is actually very good. Where my house sits is in part of a weird Bermuda Triangle. And I'm not sure if it's because of just how internet towers overlap, or if it's because my next door neighbor literally has his house rigged to try to speak to the moon. So who knows? It's either the neighbor or it's a weird Bermuda Triangle of towers. But in any case, my house, specifically where I live, has bad internet. You walk 2-3 houses in any other direction, and it gets better. Magically better. Ugh. Okay, so repeating what happened here, or at least what I thought I saw. So I thought that Uzi was hanging on to the pod along with some of the other drones. But when you look at it, clearly the purple thing in the back is just the afterburner. So that is not so it's not any of the drones hanging onto the side. That's what I thought, because these pods are so small that, of course, someone would have to hold on. And especially when you pause it right here, it looks like Uzi's hanging out. So I had to go frame by frame. Nope, these are just the arms. These are the weird spider leg arms that help the pod to move around and to latch onto things. And the purple that you see is just the afterburner. So when it comes down to trying to discern which characters are doing what here in the trailer, just going off of colors can be great indicators. They can also lie to us if we're not careful. And I've got a cat now who's causing problems. Mamba. First a storm, then the internet, now a cat. This is just an absolutely fantastic live stream right here. A live stream of comedic errors. What if you gave Uzi a BFG 9000 and told her to go wild and have fun? If you gave Uzi the BFG, then absolute solver beware. She will win within a few minutes because she's going to destroy everything in sight. Mojo, do you think we will finally see the solver's origin, since it showed at the beginning of the trailer the characters talking about and trying to understand what is the solver? Attack of the Cats. To Mojo, to your question, don't hold your breath. I don't think that we're going to get the origins to Absolute Solver. If we do, that'll be great. But chances are we won't, because, again, an aspect of Lovecraftian horror is that something is as terrifying as it is because you do not understand it. You don't know where this thing is coming from. Even when you're told, oh, this is this is light and colors from another planet, you don't know this planet. You don't know these gods. None of this makes any sense. And so even if you're learning what the heck is going on, what you don't know is what terrifies you. And that was what Lovecraft did. He took all of these things that he didn't understand, that horrified him, and then he just turned them into monsters. Like fish people, because he was scared of fish. He was scared of the ocean. He was scared of death. He was scared of time. He was scared of intimacy. He was scared of black people. So all of these things become monsters and cultists and all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why Lovecraftian horrors are absolutely bizarre. It is taking a fear and turning it into an absolute monster. And fears are irrational. They are unknown. The moment that you know what this thing is, it takes away some of the spookiness. And if you really want to preserve the spookiness, you can't tell the audience everything that they would like to know. And that's something that I myself have struggled with when it comes to writing horror, because I love, I myself personally love to learn everything, and I love to divulge everything that I can. But a good horror story holds back a lot of the answers, a lot of the context, in order to preserve the spookiness. No, Liam was not scared of black people. That was Lovecraft, Mojo. So the guy who created this sub-horror genre, the Lovecraftian horror, Lovecraft was terrified of everything. He was terrified of people he didn't understand. He was terrified of things he didn't understand. And he was also a racist. So that all became monstrosities in his stories. Yay, Lovecraft. One of these days I'll have to share some of the excellent videos that have actually been done of Lovecraft, especially from Overly Sarcastic Productions. They did a fantastic breakdown of Lovecraft. Definitely check that out if you get the chance. Give the cat cuddles. Oh, cuddle the Mamba, as he's just causing problems right here. Disagree with you. When we see in Bloodborne lore, we see explaining a lot of love creatures using alchemy. So some stories do decide to explain more of what's going on. However, a lot of the Souls games don't actually tell you everything that's going on, Shade. With Bloodborne, sure, you can learn a whole lot more. But if you, for instance, turn to the Eldritch Horror made by the same studio in Elden Ring, they don't explain a whole lot. It's left to be like, you're left to be like, what the heck is going on here? Most Eldritch Horror, most horror stories in general won't explain everything. The moment that you explain the monster, the moment that you really show the monster in its entirety, the spookiness goes out the door. A good example for me in this regard is the movie Nope, which I really enjoyed it. I was at the edge of my seat. I was spooked out through most of Nope until the last 15 minutes of the movie. For instance, when we get to see the monster in its entirety, and you see that it's a giant movie camera that's been killing people, it's just like, no, this is just dumb. You should have kept it as a flying saucer that ate people. Well, because that sounds horrifying. The moment that it turns itself into a giant movie camera, it's a movie camera that eats people. And it's just, it's as lame as it sounds. Nope was fun. Here's the thing. Again, I enjoyed Nope until the last 15 minutes of the movie. And then I was like, why? Why? Everything is just now dumb. Mojo says I have a big mini panther in my house. Hey, feed that mini feed that mini panther. I'm Omega, movie camera that eats people. Yes, that is what it is. A movie camera that eats people. Shane says, brother, I'm an expert on Souls lore. Actually, a lot of it is explained by alchemy and esoteric religion like Berserk. Shade, I'm just going to say this. If you have a background knowledge of what has inspired them, you can make a lot of inferences. Take out your understanding of alchemy and esotericism, and when you remove that, can you honestly say that the game explains a whole lot to you? So, for instance, I know a fair bit about politicking, fantasy, world building, tropes, whatnot. And so I can look, for instance, at Game of Thrones, and I can already tell you from the first book how the story's supposed to end. So when the show ended the way that it did, I was like, yeah, that's exactly how it was supposed to end. That was everything was telegraphed from the first book. If you don't have that knowledge, into politicking, the tropes, the way that George R. R. Martin uses certain bits of fantasy, then yeah, then the ending is a complete bewildering mystery to you. So our own personal background knowledge can help us to make sense of what we're seeing. That doesn't always translate to that the story is actually communicated what it needed to. And I think that's actually a very good warning to give to a lot of authors. There are so many authors out there who are writing big ideas and themes about everything from philosophy to religion to commentary on the public and on humanity, on sociology, on all of these different things. And because they know what they are doing, because they have that background information, to them, the stuff that they're putting into the story just makes tons of sense. But what they have to realize is that their audience doesn't always have the background information that you as the author have. And if they do not have that background information, it might not make any sense to them. And so, for instance, then bringing this back over to Murder Drones. Murder Drones has so many references to individual horror stories, and it uses a whole bunch of different horror story tropes and setups and even direct scenes. However, Liam Vickers did enough to make sure that Murder Drones could stand on its own 2 feet and do its own thing without you needing to know all these other horror movies and horror stories. If you do, you end up appreciating the show a whole lot more. But if you make it where if Liam Vickers intended for you to have watched Friday the 13th, Alien, The Thing, and that's the only way that you can understand what's happening in his show, if you do it that way, you will lose your audience. And so that is something definitely to think about as an author. I've been guilty of that, putting stuff that I thought made total sense into my story without realizing that it only really made sense to me because of my background, my understanding. I have to try to lead my audience through some of these deeper and heavier concepts because they might not have the education I've had or my experiences. So that's something important to remember there for any author. Up it up. Boy, Roblox boiling it down. Lars was talking about how Lovecraft was scared of black people. If there's anything to take away from this long conversation, it is that. Isa says it's like movies that reference other movies for you to understand what's even happening. Exactly. When you do that, it's not an enjoyable experience. If it's a movie that makes sense while referencing something and you don't need to have seen that movie to understand the reference, then it's all good. And for the people who have seen that other movie who get the reference, it gets even better. Mojo says, I saw a theory that some official art of Uzi made by Liam is actually telling what is going to happen to Uzi in the ending of the show, which may be real. I have heard that as well, and I don't have any confirmation about that. And Liam is definitely being tight-lipped, so I don't know. I can't really speak to what we might expect there. But yeah, so to round it off, I thought that the drones were hanging on to the side of the pod. Nope, it's just the appendages. And here we see the ringed planet. This is not Absolute Solver. This is the ringed planet that we see always in the night sky up on Copper 9. This is the pod making its way to Absolute Solver. This is where it ends. So, yeah. Game Lord asks, who do you think would win in a fight? Sin versus a Grey Knight? Or N&J versus the Hell of a Boss Imps? Or Uzi and Doll versus D&D's Dungeons and Dragons? So anything from D&D with a high enough level will slaughter imps from Hell of a Boss and the Murder Drones, even with their more advanced technology. My mind is blanking on what a Grey Knight is, so I can't exactly answer that. I think, though, that NJ and V could easily wipe out the characters from Hell of a Boss. Easily. Yeah, I mean, I love I love the imps, but I'm going to be honest. Other than plot armor protecting them, they would not survive against the dynamic trio of murder drones. Isa says, I've heard that as well, and I hope that it's just a theory. I don't want to be heartbroken by Uzi being heartbroken. That would be sad. Unicron's daughter. Unicron is coming here to wipe out everything. That's basically what Absolute Solver is at this point. It's an eldritch Unicron. Audio went out for a second again. Dang it. So there goes. My internet is still trying to destroy me. Grey Knights are from Warhammer 40k. All right, so I know nothing about Warhammer, which is one of the reasons why I will not be reviewing Warhammer whenever it comes out, because I just don't know. And Warhammer is definitely something where I feel like you need to have that background knowledge to really appreciate what's going on. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how the show goes when it's released. Shade says he's got a question. What is your opinion about not showing the power of characters like accurate Souls characters can actually destroy the universe? My opinion on characters not showing their real power. I'm all for it. But there has to be a reason for the characters not showing their truest powers from the get-go. So, for instance, in my Legend of the Ten Lords book series, there are characters who can and canonically have destroyed planets single-handedly. The reason why you don't see them coming and wiping everything out is, for one guy, he's trying to not get caught because there's people looking for him, so he has to keep a low profile. And also, still for that same guy, it gets boring. If you could destroy an entire planet single-handedly, where's the fun in it after you've destroyed 100 different planets? So he enjoys taking apart worlds piece by piece and finding the things that he finds most interesting as he completely destroys and deconstructs them. Whereas for another character, he can't do his world-ending shtick, because if he does it, it will alert other people within his order that he's been doing things that he shouldn't be doing, which could lead to a lot of serious repercussions for him. Because even though he's completely OP, everyone else in his order is as well. And when you have one Saitama versus 14 other Saitamas, the one lone Saitama is probably going to lose to the 14 others. It's going to be a really fantastic fight for as long as it lasts, but the one guy is going to end up losing eventually in the end. So there are reasons why OP characters would want to cloak their true power and potential. And so long as you show that within the story and you explain that away, then to me, I'll buy it. It'll make sense. Because while I love OP characters, I also do enjoy the struggle. And you can balance overpowered individuals with actual struggle. It can be done. You can get very creative with it. So I'm all fine with OP characters cloaking their power. Kakio says, I just watched Madoka Magica yesterday. LOL. Woo! What'd you think of that? Roblox is down, says, I only brought up Unicron's daughter because I saw Transformers Rise of the Beast earlier today, but Sin could be his daughter and Cybertron is her uncle. Or that, or she's eaten all of them and has assimilated them, and that's why she's a massive planet. Fun fact of the author for Fate Zero is the one who created the Curse of Magical Girls. Well, we have to thank him for that. All right, so let me quickly pull up once again some footage because since my internet reset everything when it went down, which is just annoying. Yes. So I have some footage while I then start loading up the slideshow that I have prepared for tonight, which will be the magical schools. So this is going to take a little while since my internet is so dumb. All right. Oh, yay! It popped on up. Fantastic. Well, I'll just bring this up right here to quickly address some of the few other things that we got here before we then transition on over to talking about magical schools. Game Lord, Grey Knights are all psychic and are in power armor and use both guns and spears, and their armor is empowered by psychic space magic as well and have nearly unshakable wills, just to give you info. So they're just walking automatons of death. Kakio, my head just exploded. Theory, Sin is Quintessa. Say what? See, in my brain, my dumb brain just suddenly jumped to Catch of Vampires, which none of you guys know. For a Halloween this year, we should return to Catch of Vampires. The reason why I ask about witches is because I have an idea of a character giving boons to heroes, which turns them into giant kaiju-like monsters who warp their territories. Very interesting. I like that idea, M Omega. Yeah, run with that. That sounds really cool. All right, so to wrap up talking about murder drones, what I think is going to happen is that Uzi is going to make her way down to the planet's surface of Absolute Solver. There, she's going to be hunted by Sin, who is just going to revel in the torture and in the chase, get after this little purple thing that's caused her so much frustration and pain. N is going to convince J to make their way out to the giant planet that's just suddenly arrived out of nowhere and put an end to it. Like, don't you see? Tessa's dead. That should not be there. We got to go. We got to fight. We got to destroy it. And manages to convince her to join him. And so we'll have N, J, Khan, Lizzie, and Thad all going on up to it, using now the repurposed pod to fly on up to Absolute Solver and try to help out Uzi. I really do hope that we get to see Eldritch V show up. So I'll just kind of place that in there as like a little like, yay, I hope this happens. So they go on up there, and what's going to happen is that they will arrive just before Sin can kill Uzi. N is going to save her. J is going to confront her. That's going to be the start of the fight. So it'll first be J versus Sin. Then Khan's going to come on in. It'll be then Khan and J versus Sin, and then and Uzi join the fight, while Thad and Lizzie continue to do whatever it is that they're doing to try to break things down. And I completely expect that Nori is going to do something to help sabotage Absolute Solver from within as well. It's going to be a group effort to bring this thing down piece by bloody piece. And I expect a lot of really excellent fight scenes, and I expect that N is going to have a fantastic hero moment. So, well, that, without knowing any more of what might happen in this episode, that's ultimately my best guess. Solver has its own species. Maybe it's the only one of its kind. Again, it's an Eldritch Abomination, so we don't exactly know, and we probably won't know. TV Count says, I think the only consequence of the story is that they survive but lose Copper 9. Well, that'd be really sad, because then they're going to be floating around in space. Copper 9 is now been Solver. Well, that's what they're going to try to stop. I always had such a hard time processing that Tessa is actually just dead. I'm having a hard time processing it as well, because I love Tessa so much. I loved my bombastic, spunky Aussie gal. I wanted more of her. Shade says, maybe next Halloween we'll do a vampire video. I'm still waiting. Oh, we've already done a vampire video. We'll do it again. And I've got another vampire movie to talk about this Halloween as well. This is going to be fun. ISO says, in my fanfiction, there are more Eldritch entities, but only 2 are awake, and 1 is an ally. Interesting. I don't know if I'd want to ally myself with an Eldritch Abomination, though. Roblox Solver is the last running form of Windows before Apple completed them. Or outcompeted them. Okay, outcompeted them. Why do I feel so cringe talking about my fan fiction? It takes a little bit, ISO, to overcome that, because we're so wired to think that fan fiction is inferior, because there have been so many bad fan fictions in the past. But again, fan fiction is improving overall, and there's some great fan fiction stories out there. And so I think that by promoting good fan fiction more and more, that we're able to start moving away from that negative thought of that this is what fan fiction is, and we can actually start enjoying real interesting stories that fans want to tell within stories that they absolutely love. That's really what fan fiction ought to be. All right, so with all that being said, here's to looking forward to August 23rd. Oh boy. Let me actually just quickly check what date that will be. That will indeed be a Friday. So we'll probably have a reaction that night if we manage to do a live stream. Who knows what the future will hold, but I can definitely see that being in the cards. Fun fact, in the start of episode 6, it's only a split frame, but the Solver's power can summon a bubble barrier. Yep, it can definitely do that. Jay shooting at doll. Shade says also, I did not mean that vampire videos. I mean the one that you promised will do a different type of vampires. I'm not sure when I remembered to promise doing a specific kind of vampire video. I'm not recalling that. You'll have to refresh my memory. Shade, well, maybe someday, maybe maybe somebody, not someday, maybe somebody will make an animation of Tessa X drone cuts if that will make you feel better about the loss of Tessa. I just want Tessa in my life. I need my own crazy, shadowy, spunky Aussie gal. Is that too much to ask? Kakio, I think Glitch released the trailer earlier because the fandom was so desperate. The fan doesn't needed this. And that's definitely going to be one of the things that when I do my ultimate retrospective of the series, I'm definitely going to be talking more about what Glitch could have done better to keep the fandom fed. And I think there's really, I think some of that does come down to Liam. We've brought up in the past how like the pacing in this show really isn't the best. Like overall, I would argue that individual episodes are really great. So it says my internet says yes, that is too much to ask. But yeah, so like the pacing has been the pacing over the course of the entire story has been a little bit and I think that Liam could have really done some cool things by sharing little stories along the way to give us just a little bit more background into some of these characters. So that's going to be something to talk about in the future. But I think that's one way that Liam could have really helped to keep the fan base fed. And that way, then we would know, even if it's just random stuff about, hey, did you know that one time Thad did this really stupid thing, but everyone thought it was really cool, and that's how he became the cool guy? Like, just having stuff like that. It's silly. It doesn't contribute. It doesn't spoil the rest of the story, but it's something that gets the fan base like, woohoo, yay! And then they're like, well, when's the next episode coming out? Don't worry, we're working on it. But I just wanted to let you guys have these chances to enjoy more of the story that unfortunately you just can't see within the show because limited time, limited resources. Shay says, in a live stream, you promise you will do the video about different types of vampires and how to use them, the story and character development. I don't recall that, but I can definitely do a vampire live stream and talk about different types of vampires. I'll have to bring on a friend of mine to talk about Vampire the Masquerade because she loves that, and that's got all kinds of vampires for you. Kakia, so do you think Liam could do animations or comics about murder drones to help fill out the story? I absolutely think he could. But we're going to have to see what he does. This is honestly for Liam. Complete full series quite like this. I don't know what to expect. I would love to get comics. I would love to get little animatics. I would love to get little stories from Liam and from Glitch to help fill out more of the story. I just don't know if we're going to get it. I don't know Tsukihime, so I don't have an opinion. Sorry. Do you think you'll do a retrospective on Meatpacking Runner or Meta Runner? Okay, not Meatpacking, Meta Runner. Like what we've learned from Meta Runner writing and stuff. I could do that. I think it'd be fun to do that. Also, thanks, Solver. Domain expansion. I am a member. What is your opinion about the most recent chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen? I've not read the most recent chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, so I cannot give my opinion on it. Kakio says, every time I ask something, your internet explodes. It's my fault. I'm sorry. So, I guess, again, I'm sorry that my internet's been all wonky and whatnot. So to come back to what you're asking, Kakio, I would love to see Liam do animatics, share short stories, share behind the scenes information and other stuff that would help to really pad out the story and fill things in more for Murder Drones. But we're in uncharted waters for Liam because I don't think he's ever really gotten this far at all with any of his stories. So this is going to be very interesting to see how he reacts. And again, Glitch Productions owns this show. So it's going to come down to them to what really gets released in the end. And I do hope that they expand more on Murder Drones, even if it's just kind of like looking back at other stories, because I think that the fans would really, really love that. Game Lord says Liam could have done what Visipop is doing with Hell of a Boss by making short videos for the series. Exactly. They could have absolutely have done that. And that is a shortcoming on their end. Absolutely. Because they needed and I think that part of it is, again, because production, we don't know the story behind the scenes of what happened with production. They said today that they've been working for a year on this episode and that they had postponed it for various reasons. And it's not just all the Amazing Digital Circus's fault. There's other things going on as well. So until we hear all of those stories, we won't exactly know what's all happened. The slow internet strikes again. Yes, again, I'm sorry, guys. But we can blame it on the storm. So, Cat Mumba. Mumba's getting feisty. So you can't just abandon these amazing characters. I'm too connected to them. I don't think that they're going to completely abandon Murder Drones. Murder Drones has been so iconic to Glitch. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that they're going to give up on them. Oh, yep, I can hear that freaking slow internet. All right. Well, guys, I'm so sorry for that slow internet nonsense. So let's start let's start bringing this home. Let's start bringing this home. I'm sorry that this is the way that it's gone. I can blame the storm. I can blame my neighbor. I can blame the Bermuda Triangle. I can blame myself. But let's move on. Tsukihime is a vampire story, with very unique lore. Lots of also Jujutsu Kaisen chapter, a lot of development. You're very, very. I'll probably very, very much like it, is what you were saying. Okay, I can hear the rain in the background. Yeah, it's been stormy. All right, so let's completely shift gears on over to the last topic, which is magical schools. So I want to welcome you all to Crown Academy, or more specifically, Victor's Crown Academy. Though most people just call it Crown Academy because that just rolls off the tongue a little bit better. Sorry, I'm not sending you guys to Hogwarts. We just don't have the rights. Most people say that Solver is only just manipulates matter, although it's highly plausible that it also warps reality. Mojo, it definitely bends all rules of physics, meaning that it does bend time and space and not just matter. Okay, so when it comes to doing magical schools, I want you guys to actually be able to write magical academies that deliver on the magical academy aspect, that looks and sounds as cool as this image right here on your screen, and does not devolve into the nonsense that you get out of nearly every single uninspired magical academy anime series, which ends up being more about the romances and the battle royales, rather than teaching anyone about the magic of this world and doing anything interesting with it. Because schools are meant to teach. They are meant to give opportunities to students and to actually present them another kind of life. The life that you have at home and the life you have at school are two very different things. Schools are their own very interesting bubble of possibility, of education, of relationships. Schools are really interesting in that aspect. And most stories never ever tap into the true potential that any school setting or any school story should have. Harry Potter is what everyone strives to be like, but most people end up failing because they're really bad actually at writing a good school setting. Instead, they deal more with, again, the drama, the relationships, or with the, I want to be overpowered, or I hated school, so I'm going to use this story as a way of getting back at the system. And while you can write those kinds of stories if you want, and that's absolutely fine, that's not a good school setting story, especially when you're using a magical academy. Do not leave all of that amazing potential on the table. Don't take advantage of it. And that's what my lesson here is all about as I introduce you guys to Crown Academy, a school for dragonists. Schools are prisons in disguise, a plan devised by the government to prepare children for their future. Roblox, if you want to talk about schools being a prison, you got to come to my old high school. My old high school was a prison and a fortress. I kid you not. Whenever I tell people this and they don't believe me and I take them over by the school, they start freaking out because that school is a fortress and a prison. But when we talk about magical academies, we don't want our magical academies to be prisons. Nope, we don't want that. Is this Genshin Impact? No, it's not Genshin Impact. Actually, when we pop back on over here, this is the Wand and Sword of Wistoria, which I still need to watch. I enjoyed reading the manga. I got to watch the anime. Janice, what did you miss? You missed out a lot of talk about murder drones. You came in just in time to talk about magical academies. So, how to write magical schools. If any of you have ever wanted to write a magical school, this is what you've got to do. And I'm not just saying this as an author, I'm saying this as someone who was a teacher. So I'm speaking from experience here. If you don't want to write a nonsensical, generic battle royale anime school, but actually do something interesting, something that feels like Harry Potter, but does something different and unique for your own story, this is what you've got to do. You need to address creating your school in this order. You need to understand the nature of your world. Schools exist to prepare kids to go into the real world. I know it doesn't feel that way when you're in school, but that is literally what it's doing. They are trying to pound into you skills that will be useful for when you go into the real world. They try to give you an idea of what kinds of jobs you might want to have, what kinds of dreams you want to chase, and how you can chase those dreams. That is what a school is meant to do. And believe it or not, most schools are actually very good at doing that. Most kids are just bad students. Because I taught my students so many life skills, and they refused to believe me that they would ever come in handy. I'm Omega. I guess the Alchemy Academy from Common Rider Gotchard doesn't count. It's mostly about hunting, trading card monsters, and fighting alchemy monstrosities. Yeah, that's not real. I mean, that's a fun premise, but it's not a good school. Do you think the Hidden Leaf Village from Naruto could be considered a magical school? Nope, not at all. That is a way of life in a shinobi village, which is borrowing from the actual traditions of real shinobi villages in Japan, where you were raised within a clan and taught the profession of that clan. It's not actually a school. A school is where people are sent to learn other skills and knowledge that cannot be acquired just at home. And that's one of the reasons then why when you refer to homeschooling, it is a big deal, because it's like, I am teaching people at home things that they normally would not be taught at home. So you need to understand the nature of your world, because schools are meant to prepare the people who go, prepare their students for the world that they are going to go into, the world which is theirs to inherit. If a school does not prepare its students for the outside world, that school has already failed. So you don't want your school to fail. Therefore, you must understand the nature of your own magical world, and you will start structuring your school to address that. So what is this school supposed to teach to its students so that way they can thrive, aka have jobs and skills that'll help them to thrive within this world? Do they need to know how to read and to write? Do they need to know their history? Do they need to know their magic? Absolutely, because this is a magical academy. Okay, so what kinds of magic do they need to know? And what kinds of job opportunities with this magic can they be introduced to? That is then what this school needs to start teaching. A lot of this information will never come in handy. Talk comes from students struggling with subjects that feel unnecessary. Yeah, that's the way that it feels. But oh boy, I don't know how many things I taught to my students that had absolutely nothing to do with history. I'm like, trust me, you will want to know this. And I would try to teach my students how to actually properly read and write, because I'm like, this is how you communicate. I had so many students who did not have a working vocabulary above 500 words. They did not know how to communicate with each other. And I could even see it. My students would talk with each other, and half the time they would not understand each other, even though they're all speaking English. And it's because they did not know how to communicate. You'll learn to communicate not just by talking, but by actually knowing how to read and write. Reading and writing teaches you how to form sentences and how to communicate ideas and receive ideas from other people, how to pay attention. Reading and writing is critical to communication. If you don't know how to read and write, you can't ever properly communicate with other people. You just can't. All right. So once you know the nature of your world and what kinds of things your students need to know within this magical academy in order to thrive within this magical world, you then start tailoring classes to those skills and jobs. This is where you get to start creating a curriculum. You then create the characters who will then be in that class. Don't even bother with who's going to be the class bully or the teacher that everyone loves, the teacher that everyone hates. That comes later. First, create your world, create what kinds of jobs and knowledge is in that world and what people need to know in order to survive in that world. Start creating classes in order to help people get those skills to thrive in that world. And then you start creating your characters. If you try to first put in the characters, your characters... I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I start off with characters. But trust me, when you're trying to think of like a magical school, you can already have your main character and love them. Set them off to the side. Don't bother creating any other characters until you've established your world and the classroom. Please, trust me, you're going to want to do it that way. The reason for that is because when people focus too much on the characters, rather than balancing the characters with the class, that's when the classroom becomes irrelevant. I was in science, or I was in magical science. We learned how to milk a hydra. Yay. Now then, did you hear that Johnny has asked out Billy to the magical prom? Oh my gosh, you mean that special dance that only comes around 3 times a year, only comes around every 3 years? Yes, and if he proposes to Billy under the blood moon, things are going to happen. Oh my gosh, has anyone told Tessa? No, we don't tell Tessa. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm getting all of the drama. You said you were milking a hydra. How do you milk a hydra? Why would you milk a hydra? I need these questions answered. Roblox. Murder Drone started with Thad, then the high school was invented. Amen. Amen. All right. Oh, I just saw Game Lord had to log off. Game Lord, thanks for sticking around. Glad you were here. Navy right in military schools justifies just fighting monsters and fighting assassination. Even military schools have to teach people all different kinds of skills. So, for instance, in actual military academies, you are usually brought in only after you have been taught all of your basics by another school. Or let's say you actually go to old school West Point, which was all about raising and training officers for war. Officers at West Point who are taught how to kill people, they had to go to lessons about math. They had to learn physics and geometry. They had to learn how to speak French and to speak Spanish, to speak German. They had to learn ancient history. If you were to go back in time and go to West Point, like back in the 1800s, you would have to learn so many other things. There was even one class, learn how to ride a horse. And everyone's like, why do you have to learn to ride a horse? Because if you're going to lead people into battle, you have to get on that horse. Am I not going to get shot at on my horse? Oh, you're going to get shot at, which is why we're training you how to ride a horse. So that way you can bob and weave and hide behind your horse's flank, so that way you don't get shot. Yay! Why am I learning about ancient history? Because you're going to learn from the mistakes and successes of the past, so that way you too can pull off the perfect pincer movement in battle. Why do I have to learn math? You need to learn math because you need to know how many meals your soldiers are going to eat. And if you can't provide X amount of meals over Y amount of time, your men will starve and then murder you out of retribution. Oh, that's why we learn these things. So, once you have established the nature of your world, you know what you need to learn so that way you can thrive in that world. You've created the curriculum, and now you've started creating the characters, being the students and the teachers. Now you can come up with how the school looks like. And yes, I am putting it in that order because, honestly, the layout of the school is fluff. It is absolutely fluff. It can be tons of fun fluff, but it is fluff. So you keep that for later. And the last thing you come up with are the battle royale competitions, the sports, the clubs, the hangout spots, the cliques, etc. That's the fluff. The heart of any good magical school story must be the education. And the reason for that is because students react to education differently. For instance, if we take Harry, Hermione, and Ron, Hermione was absolutely guzzling up all this information, just soaking it in. As a result, she was able to learn all these things that were very beneficial to the heroes throughout their journeys. If she was not paying attention to all these moments, which are in the chapters, J.K. Rowling wrote most of that stuff down for you as the audience to actually be clued into what Hermione was learning, you can then follow along and the magic makes sense. Harry is at first enamored with the magical classes, and for the first couple of years of school, oh boy, he's loving it. But because he's best friends with Ron and Ron's a bit lazy, we get to see Harry become lazy as well and begin to get more involved in the drama of what's happening around at school. And he doesn't learn the things that he should until he's thrown into the heart of the Triwizard Tournament, and there he has to learn really, really fast. So, yeah. We need to pick a principal. Yeah, you create the principal when you're creating the characters. Create a good principal bump kind of character. We need good positive principals because positive principals are the best. Having had a chance to work under two different principals while I was a teacher, one principal, he was a good administrator, but he was poor at connecting with people on a personal level. And the students really resented him for that. There was then one principal who really wasn't that great of an administrator, but he was an excellent people person, and he like instantly won over people's respect. And so, yeah, create your own principal. What would you like to see in a principal? You can do all different kinds of things. Love principal bump. Yeah, principal bump is amazing. Principal bump is the principal that we all deserve. All right, so building Crown Academy. I am going to take you guys through the process of building this magical academy for Dragonists. These are the characters from my world, Whitefire, or I should say from the story Whitefire on the world of Draconia. So in this slideshow, I'm going to introduce to you guys Draconia, the world of Whitefire. I'm going to explain the jobs of Dragonists. I'm going to then explain what kinds of classes the Dragonists take. And then we will start creating, you and I will actually then spend some time creating characters for these classes. I'm going to introduce you guys the school's layout, and we're going to come up with some stuff that might happen at the school. And this will be our chance to interact, to learn a little bit, to put some stuff into practice. You guys get to have a little bit of a sneak peek into what I've been doing with this world. And then we will round it out for the night. Mumba, you're getting in the way. This cat just really, really wants attention. All right, so dragons. Yes. Okay, so the world of Whitefire, or I should say more specifically the planet of Draconia, is rules of dragons. Not just simply because they're big fire-breathing lizards. Oh, no. It's because these dragons have an absolute monopoly on power. They are the only ones who can use 99.99% of the magic on this planet. As a result, not only are they huge and can breathe all different kinds of things, they are nigh impossible to defeat. They are the most powerful beings. They are the apex predators of this world. They rule it in their own image. And humans and Dragonborn, who are the offspring of dragons and humans, live as second and third rate citizens at best within this world. And so you have to understand your place in this world if you are a squishy human and you wish to survive. So, like I said, because humans are at best third-rate citizens, though they are numerous, they are weak, magicless, and they are very tasty. But here's the thing. The reason why humans aren't just simply wiped out in this world is because dragons have learned over time that humans can be very profitable if employed wisely. So clever and connected humans across this world long ago exploited that desire from dragons to become even richer and more powerful. And they made themselves available and profitable, serviceable to these dragons. And so in a vast, cruel, and often unpredictable world ruled by these crazy powerful dragons, people known as dragonists are a source of comfort and confidence for humans all across the world. And they are a source of pride amongst humans, because these are humans who have even gained the respect of these dragons because of how they've made themselves serviceable. They decide to keep the bipedal sheep around. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. There's a hard, I tried to find a good way to describe, maybe in a word or in a phrase, how the dragons view humans. But really the best way to describe it is that it's like having mice around, but that the mice are Disney mice. Oh, you can do things. You can sing, you can talk. That's fantastic. But mice are still mice. I don't like having you around. So you better sing, dance, prance, and make me a dress. Otherwise, I am putting out the rat poison. It's kind of the way that the dragons act. Now, an important thing to understand here is that the dragons aren't just simply hoarding treasure because they're greedy, but dragon treasure is essential to their magic. So for reasons to be explored within the book, refined ore and gems and other kinds of material, when turned into a finished product of some kind, act as receptacles for natural magic. So once you've minted a gold or silver or bronze, copper coin, that can already start receiving natural magic into it. This is magic that humans can't access at all. Again, humans have no control over 99.99% of the magic, and the 0.01% of magic that is not controlled by the dragons is controlled by the Dragonborn. So humans have nothing in terms of magic. But when they make all of these fantastic items, when they make nice silken shirts, when they make a jewel-encrusted book, when they make a gold statue, for whatever reason, it pulls magic, natural magic into it. For the dragons, in order to obtain magic, they must sleep on these treasures. And so the dragons accumulate mass amounts of wealth that they can then sleep on and draw that natural magic into themselves. And then with that magic, they can do anything. They can raise mountains and turn this mountain into a beautiful city. They can, in one case, shape storms into living stories. And so as the storm blows past, it acts like a movie, and you can see the story play out in the clouds and hear the voices and the sound effects and everything boom across the landscape. They can do all kinds of amazing things, these dragons. And they like doing it. They like doing these incredible things, but they need the magic for it, and so the only way to get the magic is to acquire the treasure. Now then, the dragons can make their own treasures, but it's a whole lot better when you have millions of humans running around. You make those humans make the treasure for you, and then you take it from them, either in the form of taxes or you rob it from the humans. And that's what these dragons have been doing. And it gets pretty violent which is again why you need the Dragoness to kind of help smooth things over between these different groups. Roblox, we don't need Disney mice. Mumba, get out of the way. The last thing we need is a Mickey lawsuit. Oh, I'd love to see Mickey try to sue these dragons. They'd eat him for lunch or for a snack. So let's firmly define who are our Dragonists. So Dragonists are trained individuals who are... Mumba, it's time for you to get out of the way. This cat wants attention, so he is rubbing up all over my screen, and he refuses to get out of the way. And if I try to move him, I'm going to get slashed. He's an old, cranky kitty. Come on, Mumba. Time to move. Mumba. Putting it down. There we go. Okay. So, finally, with the cat out of the way. So, Dragonists are trained individuals who perform a variety of functions. They engage in treaties between dragon lords. They help to manage local and regional economics. They provide medical treatments to both humans and to dragons, and also to the Dragonborn should they ask for it. They assess magical items. They act as map makers. They educate trusted humans and Dragonborn on subjects like engineering. They help with breeding. Ugh. They conduct assassinations, act as liaisons, study magic, and just basically whatever it is that the dragons need humans to do. Each one of these assignments are meant to help Dragon Lords maintain peace and order in their realms and to increase their hoards of treasure. And the Dragonists are effectively tasked with maintaining a sense of order, peace, and plenty across all of Draconia between the different races, between dragons, Dragonborn, and humans. Should that all fall into chaos, the dragons will just use their overwhelming power and murder a bunch of people in order to reinstate their version of order and peace. So if you don't want the humans to just get absolutely annihilated, you've got to approach this differently. Kind of weird and amazing, but good world building. But in original dragon mythology, dragons are simply of greed and the devil. Even people tending to dragons if they are greedy. So yeah, I am taking old school lore and I am elevating it to a different level. I enjoy doing this with dragons, especially because a friend of mine once said there's no way you can do anything original with dragons. So I'm like, au contraire, just watch me. Haha. So here are some areas of Dragonist study. So there are 10 specific schools of study for all Dragonists in order to help them out. And I hate that when I put this together, this slide definitely looked way less messy. It looks really messy right now. Dang it. Oh well. There are 10 general areas of Dragonist studies. There are the treasurers who work on economics. The alchemists work on sciences. The Dragonists, who are called the speakers, are the politicians. They are the trained politicians. Healers are the ones who deal with medicines. Assassins are the ones who are not just simply trained in how to murder others, but they are also trained in all different kinds of clandestine operations. They are basically the official black ops that anyone can hire. You have the architects who perform architecture. They help to build and arrange cities and towns in order to regulate humans and Dragonborn. You have the magicians who study magic. Even though the humans can't use magic, there are instances where dragons might actually give a special item to a human, granting them the ability to use some kind of magic. So the humans need to be able to understand what that is. On top of that, let's say someone steals dragon treasure. Well, magicians can assess the amount of magic within any stolen treasure, as well as help to track that treasure and either return it to the original owner or maybe keep that on the market. All depends on the magician that's gotten it. We then have the breeders. Yay! These people are effectively there for the dragons who are very interested in cultivating docile human populations. You then have the religionists. These are humans who are trained, these are dragonists who are trained in religion, so that way they can bridge the differences between various regional religions. While the dragons themselves are supposed to have a central religion, many of the dragons either basically have people worship them, or they are just not very religious, or they've created other religions to suit their needs and their own understanding. So, for instance, within the first book of Whitefire, one of the main characters basically believes that God is the sun, whereas within the actual dogma of the one true dragon church, God is this all-powerful being who wraps the universe in his wings and who sees everything, who is in everything and around everything. And so her beliefs are very different from what is supposed to be taught. And well, as we know, different religions are going to get into conflict. And so a dragonist would be there to try to help smooth out any sort of conflict, let's say, between different religious points of view. And by understanding these different religions, they can help to teach other humans about, well, this is what you're going to get into when you get into this region. So do not insult a dragon by saying that the mountain that they decide to worship, or if they demand that you worship them as a god, don't insult them. Just roll with it. Understand it, so that way you don't get eaten. TV account. At this point, I'm not surprised Murdrone's pilot ended up getting 50 million views by the time the whole series ends. Hey, I love seeing that Murdrone's getting more views. It deserves it. Then finally, there are the historians. And while a lot of people will be like, why historians? Lars, you're just putting in historians because you yourself are a trained historian. And in part, yes, but understanding history is understanding who you are, where we've been, and where we might be going. History helps to bridge gaps in generations, gaps in understanding, and gaps between regions. So all of these different schools of thought or schools of training for a dragonist allows them then to know how best they can serve their respective dragon lords and the humans whom they are placed over. So, who are the teachers and the classmates for this? Well, allow me to introduce you to allow me then to introduce the Victor's Crown and introduce one of our main characters, Eric. So the Victor's Crown, or Crown Academy as it's called, is a special school that was erected by the Dragon King Dark Knight. And I know it doesn't sound like a very original name, Dark Knight. Oh, believe you me, when you get to know Dark Knight, he's a very impressive, very intimidating kind of character. He is very young in terms of being a Dragon King. He's just only around 200 years old, which to us is ancient, but to a dragon, that's like having a 20-year-old king. It's like, whoa, boy, are we sure we want to entrust the kingdom to this guy? Dark Knight overthrew the previous Dragon King over the Maw. He wiped out an entire kingdom that was intent on committing genocide against humans. Part of the history that a dragonist would have to learn, and this is a very recent history within the story, is the Kingbreaker's War. Most people refer to this moment as just that. However, it was first the Great Hunt, or the Human Hunt, or the Great Human Genocide, because an order of humans known as the Slayers began to wipe out dragons by killing their offspring, by smashing eggs, or by killing hatchlings. Dragons within the world of Draconia prize their families as much as they prize their treasure. If you kill a young dragon, you are marked for death instantly. There's no mercy, there's no redemption. The moment that any dragon knows that you are an egg breaker or a hatchling killer, you will die. And you better hope that you just get eaten or smashed, because they will come up with all kinds of ways to just tear you apart for this most grievous of sins. So there were humans who had been killing young dragons. As a result, The dragons like, we need to get rid of these slayers, but the slayers blended in with the rest of the human population. They couldn't be easily found out. So the previous king of the Maw decided that the best way of dealing with these riffraff was to just kill all the talking mice and just wipe them out. And so a massive genocide of more than of upwards of 2 million humans ensued. It devastated the human population across all of Draconia, what the dragons did. And it started destroying the dragons in kind, because many dragons had built up their own personal kingdoms or their own communities with humans or on the backs of humans. Suddenly, that was all being taken away. Their prosperity, their livelihoods were ripped away from them. Some dragons even cared for their humans. Some dragons had even impossibly married humans. And so now then, there's a bunch of dragons that are feeling very, very upset about what is happening within this conflict and decide that they're going to overthrow their king. And they did so, and a very young dragon, Dark Knight, did it. He received his name as a premonition for what his powers could do. Rather than just simply breathing fire, Dark Knight can control other people's shadows and use their shadows to literally tear them to pieces or wring them out like a rag. And this makes Dark Knight just an insanely powerful, intimidating dragon. Well, Dark Knight, after this great conflict of the Kingbreakers War, where the dragons rose up against their kings and overthrew their kings and have now interposed a new societal order, Dark Knight was like, you know what? We can't just continue to look down on the humans. Rather, instead, let's institute a type of meritocracy. Humans can prove themselves very valuable to us, sure, but some humans can even prove themselves as valiant as other dragons, perhaps. It's a very controversial idea. But in order to do that, I will establish an academy for these humans to they can prove themselves to all dragonkind that they are indeed individuals of honor, of bravery, upstanding moral standards and courage. And if they don't, then they will be tossed out or even eaten. So this is the kind of academy that people can go to, and it's built on the ruins of the old king's palace. And so hence why it was originally called Victor's Crown, in part because this is a school crowning the ruins of a now long dead order, and now bringing in a brand new order for humans to prove themselves within. So within this particular school, since that is its background, I want to ask you guys, what kinds of teachers and classmates might our protagonist expect to encounter in a school based in that kind of history, based in so much violence and blood, of now meritocracy? What kinds of people might you expect to meet in that school? And whoop, finally let out one of these cats that's been causing so much mischief. Away with you. Yeah, all right. Cats have been dealt with. So, question. So, also, if a dragonborn married to a human, the child will be a human or dragonborn, or a human with some dragon elements? Excellent question there, Shade. So, if a dragonborn marries a human and they have children, their children will be simply human. If a dragon has children with a human, their children will look human. However, their human-looking children are going to be tall, 7 to 9 feet easily. They are going to be muscular, beautiful, handsome. Their hair will be the color of their parent dragon's scales, and they will inherit very watered down attributes of their dragon parent. So if a fire breathing dragon or if a fire dragon, more accurate to say, a fire dragon were to have had children with a human, then all of their dragonborn children will be inheritors of a fire dragon's rage, so they can effectively become berserkers at will. If they are children of an earth dragon, then as dragonborn, they will have inherited a watered down version of their dragon parents' healing capabilities, because all earth dragons, no matter what they look like or what they can do, all of them have enhanced healing capabilities, so they heal very quickly, they regenerate very well. If it's a water dragon, then their dragonborn children will basically be able to semi-breathe underwater. Not like a fish, and not for very long, but they can live underwater for a time. Let's say that their dragon parent is undead, then that dragonborn that has been born is undead. They are a walking zombie, which isn't necessarily something that you'd like to see, but hey. So that's what you're going to get with the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn are very, very tall, buff, handsome, beautiful looking humans, but with the hair color that matches their dragon parents' scales, and with some watered down ability that they've inherited from their dragon parents. So that's what you can expect to have. We will have the Secret Hater of Dragons Club. Oh, that is indeed a club. That is indeed, they are known still as the Slayers. The Slayers were never fully wiped out. And if you get caught as a Slayer, you're dead. You are dead meat. Which is bad for our main character, Eric, because he is a Slayer. But he, as opposed to most other Slayers, loves dragons. It's kind of interesting. Why is a guy who loves dragons so much part of the Slayers? Now, that's part of the story. Iso says probably hardened students. Not quite bullies, but more aggressive than normal students. Amen. I definitely agree with that. Roblox, I would expect for there to be very old history teachers because they were probably the ones who wrote the history books that they are studying. Yeah, very likely. We'll have characters like the secret shows in One World, Unite Dragons and Men, and No Ancient Conspiracy. Interesting. Wow. World of Warcraft, or just simply wow, Hannah. So yeah, we can expect the teachers to probably be old. I would probably expect, though, that within a more militaristic school, that the teachers are going to be very much very strict, very much about punctuality, about proper etiquette, manners. You will be learning this. You will be learning this particular subject. And I agree that many of the students that you would expect to find in this school are probably going to be a little bit more motivated, a little bit more hardened than at the schools that you would find anywhere else within this world. In fact, actually, when I write the series, you're going to actually be, and the main character is going to spend more time at the academy over in the city of Lightfall, which is a very different city with a very different history. Because there, it's a free city, not controlled by a king, where dragons, dragonborn, and humans live in much more natural harmony, though with their own odd quirks and odd society. So there, actually, I would expect to have the stupid rich kids, because in a school that's based on meritocracy, your riches ain't going to get you anything. Now, then, there will be those people, for instance, who will be very jealous of, let's say, a human who is admitted to the school because they've been specifically chosen by a certain dragon lord, or who have gotten in because they happen to be the son or daughter of some great general or some great politician. You only got in here on a recommendation or because you're related to someone. You have to prove yourself to us. So within the school where people are learning history, learning how to be assassins, learning how to be great politicians and speakers, learn how to do engineering and all of this stuff, the Crown Academy is probably one of the most aggressively competitive schools across Draconia. So as opposed to something like with Harry Potter, where you've got stupid Draco Malfoy. Well, actually, Draco Malfoy's not stupid, but he is the rich kid. He with his stupid bully friends. You'd be hard-pressed to find people like that surviving for very long in the Crown Academy, because bullies don't have a whole lot of merit to them. Other people will be more than happy to show them as the charlatans that they are and have them tossed on out. They won't survive very long. So in this case, you need to be independently strong, intelligent, well connected within your own class in order to gain the approval of your fellow classmates and of your teachers. So already then, here's the thing, is that by creating the school the way that I have, I think you might already then realize that a Dudley or a Ron or a Crab and Goyle kind of character, they won't survive very long in this academy. They might not even make it in. Whereas Harry, who is naturally talented and has a thirst to prove himself, if he's on the right path, could actually succeed very well in this kind of academy. Hermione, who is all about soaking things up and proving herself, she would also probably succeed very well. A Fred and George might survive for a semester or two before they get tossed out for just simply being goof-offs. Which means that when you're writing this story within this particular environment, with what these people have to learn, already you should then begin to realize that maybe some of the characters that you had in mind for the school setting might not work in this particular story. This is again why I say that you need to start by what this school is. And now the Shade says, I disagree with you. Stupid people still survive surprisingly. That they do. And yet, within a stringent school like this, you won't have as many. You can put in one or two, absolutely. In fact, that adds in some drama, it can add in some comedy within your story. But at the same level, like what you, for instance, would find in Harry Potter, where there's so many dumb students that Ron, Harry, and Hermione have to deal with, Ron being one of them, you can't quite get away with it in this particular setting. Over at the Lightfall Academy, absolutely. But not at the Crown Academy, because it's a very different situation, very different scenario. And then let's say you want to put in that stupid character or that rich brat. You need to show to the audience why they are there, why they belong, or how they belong. Because everything else that you've established is so incongruent with these characters. The setting shapes the people. We like to believe that we shape the setting. But in reality, the majority of people are what shape the setting that the individual goes into. That's the way that schools work. And that's something that resonates with the audience when they can see that. Because believe it or not, if you've gone to a school, that has been your experience. You might not have realized it in the moment, but when you look back, you can see it. And when it's represented that way in fiction, that immediately makes a fantastical school established by a dragon king with people learning about magic. Suddenly it feels realistic. Somehow it feels relatable. And when you can actually do that with the school setting itself, you draw the audience more into this world. And without them realizing it, subconsciously, they now want to know even more. Then it comes down to you to actually make those classes actual classes. So let's describe this school. Let me lay out what the Crown Academy looks like. So like I said earlier, this is built upon the ruins of an older foundation, built upon the ruins of a fallen kingdom, built anew. So you have this foundation of black stone, built from rubble, packed together into this tight plateau base. This serves as the literal foundation for the school, and beneath it is where you have the living quarters for all of the students. The students literally will live under the school. There, they will also be under the watchful eye of the teachers, because we don't want you guys having any sort of relations while you're at school. If you want that, you can leave school and you can go do your own business elsewhere. You're effectively in a military academy, dang it. So you guys are living in barracks. Again, if we were to compare this to the Lightfall School, there it's going to be a little bit more loosey-goosey. There, our main character, Eric, he's going to get into relations over there. But if you were to be a student over at Crown Academy, whew, you're risking stuff if you want to visit someone else's bedroom late at night. No, instead, when you live literally under the school is supposed to dominate your life, literally and metaphorically. When it comes time to eat, students will eat outside. They rise up from their bedrooms, from their quarters underneath the school's foundation, and they come on out into the open where they can interact with each other and they can have food. But then when it comes time for class, there are 10 towers, one for each major subject, or I should better say, one for each major order of the dragonists, from the historians to the alchemists to the speakers. And these massive towers that rise on up like the points of a crown are connected by bridges. When you enter into any one of these towers, you will mostly be taking classes in any one tower. Dragonist students are allowed to take as many subjects as they want. If you want to be a speaker, an alchemist, an assassin, a magician, you can do those 4 things. You can be part of those 4 orders. But that's a lot of extra schools. It's a lot of extra classes to take on. And the Dragonist Academy wants you to know that you're kind of overburdening yourself with this. And so if you want to go take your other classes, you have to cross these massive bridges that connect the different towers. And you have to physically go to the other side of the campus to make it to your next class. This puts a strain on you in order to communicate to the students, sure, you can do all these things. But the more you try to do, the more you're going to draw yourself out, the less you'll actually be able to do. You will not be a profitable servant to your Dragon Lord. So maybe focus on only 1 or 2 towers, only on 1 or 2 particular orders within the Dragonist community. And then you can really succeed. Then you can really be of value to your Dragon Lord. If your Dragon Lord needs another topic covered, well then, they can hire another Dragonist to do this. And so the school being structured this way, this is another way then of also preventing cliques from easily forming across different orders or just simply out there in the open because, well, you're in class, and if you want to go hang out with anyone, you got to book it across a bridge and go to the other side of this academy and then find your buddies somewhere else in another tower. Your family, your clique, your friends are meant to be the people of your specific order. These are going to be your coworkers. These are going to be the people that you're going to be working with. And that's what this academy wishes to instill within you. Me personally, actually speaking as a teacher, I don't like that. And you know what? It's totally fine to write something into a story that you don't like because it challenges you. Does it look more like ancient Greek or ancient Chinese or medieval Europe or medieval Middle East? To answer that, you've got all of those cultures across this world. It's not just one uniform Western fantasy or Eastern fantasy. All different kinds of cultures blend together to create this world. It's going to be very interesting the way it looks. So relatable in real life, ain't it really? Awesome idea. Dragon Slayer characters are inspired from the dragon killers from mythology and legend. Make it more interesting. In a way they do. The Dragon Slayers are their own very interesting group. In part because some of the Dragon Slayers are actually dragonborn or even dragons themselves. Why would dragons wish to become Dragon Slayers? There's something interesting there. And if you want to know why that can be so interesting, I highly recommend for anyone to check out reading my book, Tumble-Teller. Tumble-Teller takes place within the same world. And you will learn that dragons killing other dragons, there's some unique consequences to that. So this is the school. It's large, it's spacious, it's hard to get from place to place. It's meant to force you to focus on only 1 or 2 orders to really study. The more ambitious you are, like our main character, Eric, the less you would actually fit in a place like the Crown Academy, which is interesting because it's built on the idea of meritocracy. And so it's actually limited. There's a flaw in the understanding here. All right, so extracurricular activities. These are some of the things that I came up with, at least knowing my own world. So in a militaristic area, of course, the humans are going to want to learn how to joust. Or either joust from horse or joust on foot. Why? Because the dragons of the Maw love a good joust. They are a very militaristic society, and thanks in part to their king, Dark Knight, but also their very long storied history. And again, if you read my book Tumble Teller, there is a story told within that book about the militarism and the major tournaments that the Maw loves to throw. They love their action. Military training and service obviously are going to be a big deal, so maybe you'll want to learn how to be a good, proper officer who can do all different various kinds of things. Dorcas says, I had a feeling it was connected to Tumble Teller. It absolutely is. I wrote Tumble Teller because it was a way of trying to explore a little bit more of the world of Draconia while I was really having a hard time writing out Whitefire. I had some bad writer's block. Then dancing. Dancing is absolutely a pastime within this world, in part because dragons love music. They love to dance. And so for humans to connect with dragons or to be in on the inn, they need to know how to dance. So there are clubs for dancing. There are parties for people to go dancing at, and you definitely want to do that. Then there are also clubs and special events, all revolving around spicy food. The dragons of the Maw love their spices. They love food spicy. They and the dragons of the Tail are they're from the two regions that really enjoy their spices. Most other dragons, the spiciness isn't quite necessarily what exactly they're after when it comes to their own food. Again, sorry guys for the audio. I know it's bad. But what this means is that you have dragon chili cook-offs. People go, make their own kinds of chili, make their own kinds of spicy lasagnas or what have you. They share them, they compete, they see who's got the spiciest stuff. They see who can eat the spiciest stuff before dying. And so that's one thing that the students can get in on, especially if you like to cook. You know what? Cooking and baking is a great way to let off some steam. It's a great extracurricular activity. Why not learn to cook and bake? And be self-sufficient as well. And then gossip. Oh, one of the reasons why gossip is an extracurricular activity is because, well, drama, but also within the world of Draconia, there is a dragon who collects and hoards gossip. That's literally what she's able to hoard. However, hoarding gossip is a bit difficult because it has to be an actual treasure. So what this dragon has done is she's found ways of converting gossip into treasure. And in order to amass a greater hoard, well, she needs people to gossip. So she has professional gossipers who go around the world spreading rumors and spreading news and receiving more rumors and news, and then magically converting that into treasure for this dragon to collect. Gossip is a great way to get news from around the world. So people will actually go to gossips within the world of Draconia or go to big parties where they know a gossip is going to be at. And there they can hear news. They can provide news in exchange for more information. You can sabotage a rival by spreading a rumor to one of these gossips who will then spread it around to everyone else. Though that might come back to bite you in the butt. Being a gossip is a very exciting way to be a socialite because you're basically gambling with news and with people's lives. It's a very fun pastime that can be very rewarding or very deadly. So that right there, those are some of the some of the extracurricular activities that people can engage in. Because humans don't have access to magic within this world unless a dragon gives it to them. Sorry, there's no Quidditch. In terms of magical stuff, you can't have that. It has to then be more down-to-earth stuff. So maybe over here, these people have got rugby teams. Rugby's pretty awesome, pretty rough and gruff. Maybe that would be something that these people would be interested in. Oh, sorry, Dorcas Daydreams, if you can't hear anything. Uh, I'm still here, by the way. I don't know how I do it, but I'm both engrossed and zoning out at the same time. It happens. It happens. Pi to Dorcas. Dorcas, if you can't hear the audio. Yeah, so we'll have to start wrapping up here because, oh my gosh, we've been going at this now for about 3 hours. Whew. This is one of the longest live streams that we've ever done. Woof. But so this is the way. So this is the way that I have set up. That I've set up my magical school. Again, by understanding the world that the school goes into, what is it that people need to know? What kinds of classes then can you teach to help convey that knowledge and those skills? And then to start providing the teachers, the classmates, the environment, the extracurricular activities, and everything else. If you want to write a good magical school, you need to approach it the way that people should approach real schools. If you don't do that, yeah, sure, you can have a school setting, but you'll never be able to use it to the fullest of its ability. J.K. Rowling did so well with the Harry Potter series because she knew very well that kind of bubbled in, secluded boarding school setting mentality in the way that those classes work. And so she was able to easily build a world and a story around that. But if you do not have that background within education, this is the best way that I can promote to really make a good magical school. And I haven't even talked yet about like how to actually shape lessons and everything like that. I have made a video about putting together lessons. Yes, it does mean more work for you as the writer. But again, coming back to what I said earlier, if you're going to milk a Hydra in a scene, please explain why you're milking a Hydra. Why would anyone ever do that? Yes, I also do want to know about why so-and-so is asking so-and-so out to the Blood Moon Ball. That does sound cool. But if I'm in a school setting, the more relatable that school setting is, and the more informative that school setting is, the more people buy into that world. One of the reasons why people love the world of Harry Potter so much, even though it's been long over, is because people are like, ooh, I want this kind of wand because this kind of wand will be able to do this. I love the use of these spells. I know what these spells do. I love what you can do with flu powder or blah, 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 blah. All of those things were explained. They are lived in within this story. When you watch most anime with their magical schools, I summon a great magic circle and I can now do stuff. Huzzah! Battle Royale time. Have you learned anything about the world? Have you learned anything about how the magic works? Would you be able to put yourself into that story and rather than living vicariously through the main character, actually explore what you could learn in this world and what you could do in it? The answer is no. The only way that the audience can really get in deep with a story set in a school setting is if the school is acting like a real school. I know people disagree with me on that, but that's the actual truth. And if you don't believe me, you can look at all of the different magical academy stories out there that have all failed. And the only one that has really succeeded is Harry Potter. And that's because the world of Harry Potter, those 6 books leading into the seventh not so much because that's an adventure camping story. 6 books of Harry Potter take place in a school that acts like a school, that feels like a school, and that you as the reader or as the audience watching those movies, you are educated by the end of the story. Nearly every other story with a magical academy never, ever teaches. And the only way that you can know what to teach is by knowing the world that you've created and what people need to know in order to thrive within that world. Because that's what schools are meant to do. Schools are meant to impart knowledge and skills to their students so they can thrive in their world. So that is what it is to write that's what it means to write a great magical school. Hannah Heaven, you ask about the Owl House. The Owl House is frustrating to me in terms of magical school because there are episodes where we actually get all of that, but for so much of the Owl House, we don't. There are great episodes where we are taught about magic and the nature of magic, and we get to see it put into practice with Luz or with Ida or with Amity's brother. I'm blanking on his name right now. There are some great episodes with those characters where we get to learn that, or when Gus explores illusion magic. And I would love to have gotten more of Hunter and the magic that he learned. There's so much to learn. But because the Owl House had to be rushed because of everything that Disney did to it, Disney defeated Dana Terrace when Dana Terrace was actually working on creating an excellent new magical school. Yes, a lot of it was parroting Hogwarts, but she was actually on the cusp of doing something amazing. You can actually see it throughout the show, and you can see it in a lot of the lore that was shared and what people were able to pick up on. There was real depth to it. She was just never able to fully explore it. And ultimately, she sacrificed the educational aspect of the Owl House to engage in the social aspect of the Owl House, to focus more on the characters and their relationships, which, yes, a story lives or dies by its characters. However, there were definitely moments within the series where we could have learned more about the nature of magic, and not just wild magic, but also the magic system that Emperor Belus had put into place. We could have learned so much, and unfortunately, we just didn't. And so, unfortunately, the Owl House, while the Owl House had so much potential and was even doing things well, because of what happened overall with the Owl House's story, we lost so many great opportunities to really dive into a great magical school. So that's my opinion of it. ISO says you could have it as a mystery or something. A teacher organized the Hydra milking event with the excuse of, you need to know how to do this. But actually the teacher just needed milk for evil plots. I love that. That is a great idea. Write that. That sounds so fantastic. That's the idea that occurred to me. I think I'm over my writer's block now. Excellent. Like, even if you can't write for any of the other stories, write out that scene. That sounds so absolutely hilarious. That would work out so well. Disney's the ultimate antagonist to creativity. These are shackles to creativity because of Disney. Absolutely. And I agree with you, Hannah. It's an absolute shame because the show was really good. It had so much in it that I really enjoyed. And the reason why, when people ask me which one do I like more, Amphibia or the Owl House, and I say Amphibia, they're like, what? Why don't you like the Owl House more? It's because Amphibia was actually able to do everything that it wanted to do. The Owl House clearly didn't. And because of that, the Owl House has so much potential, but untapped potential does not a good story make. And so I love the Owl House for everything that it is, but unfortunately just couldn't be everything that it ought to have been. Why did Disney do that? Can someone explain to me? In short, Shade, the reason why Disney did this. So this will get me canceled. Disney wanted brownie points. They wanted to have a show that would promote LGBTQ characters. However, Disney actually didn't want a story that actually explored LGBTQ characters. Disney has an idea of what LGBTQ characters are supposed to be like, and only that. The Owl House was everything but. The Owl House was so antithetical to everything that Disney had envisioned that even though they had greenlit the series, and it was fairly popular when it came out, Disney hated that it was doing something off script. And so they sabotaged the show to destroy it because it was not the representation that they had wanted. And one of the reasons why they even came out into being is because Disney hires a lot of creatives and allows them to start working on projects. But the thing is that Disney both has too little and too much oversight. Too little oversight in the beginning, so creators start doing whatever they want and start having a whole lot of fun. And then when the oversight committee comes on in, the project is already well underway, and it's usually not up to par with what Disney wants. And so Disney takes the axe to these projects and destroys what these creators were putting into practice, thereby wasting years of time, wasting millions of dollars, all because Disney is afraid of not hitting a checklist of things that they feel that if they can hit that checklist, it will be perfect. But as we see, Disney is crumbling, and that's because their checklist is not founded on what people actually want to see. And while there are channels out there, and yes, I will take WDW Pro and throw him under the bus because he's the things that I used to enjoy his channel, and now I'm just like, why? Why did you get political? You should never have gotten political. That aside, WDW Pro is like, no one wants to see these kinds of things in shows. Yes, they do. But they want to see it done well. Disney doesn't do it well. The Owl House did it well. But it did not fit what Disney had envisioned. As a result of that, Disney gave it the axe. And so it's stupid. It's stupid because the oversight did not let these creators cook. Compare that to something like Murder Drones. Kevin and Luke, who are the owners of Glitch, they definitely have things that they want to do. They have their own visions, their own ideas, but when they work with people like Liam Vickers and with Gooseworks, they realize that if they let these creators do what they want to do with these stories, and they are basically there to ensure that these stories are the best that they can be, and that they hit certain parameters, so that way YouTube doesn't demonetize them. So long as they are there to make sure that things are flowing smoothly and that the story is told well, they would then let their creators do what they have to do. And as a result, they're both very creative, very bombastic, and very beloved shows like Murder Drones and The Amazing Digital Circus, which again, I have crunched the numbers. The Amazing Digital Circus is on par with the popularity of Inside Out 2. That's incredible. That's amazing. And they succeeded with that because they let Gooseworks do their thing. So you have to be able to trust their creators. Disney hasn't been able to do that for years. Disney hates their own creators. It's run by a bunch of producers who fancy themselves as creators and don't have a creative bone in their body. And that's how we get to this point. Yes, as Hannah Heaven said, the Owl House didn't fit the Disney brand, which is a lie, by the way, because they own everything like Marvel, etc. Exactly. What even is the Disney brand anymore? No one knows. Disney's just dumb. So this is why I'll never sell any of my works to Disney. If I ever make it big, I'll stick to indie. Either that or a company with a great reputation, but I've yet to see one of those. That is true, ISO. Which is why I think that Glitch is definitely going to be a game changer by the time that we reach the 2030s. If Glitch can continue on this trajectory right now from 2024 for the foreseeable future, Glitch will be a reputable large company that will have inspired other companies who will try to model what they do. And as a result, this will open up the door in an amazing way for creators. And so definitely I feel like you're on the right track with what you intend to do. And you don't even need to be big to work with indie people to get your projects underway. It's nice to think that one day we might be able to do that. That would be so awesome. But whenever you have a story ready to go, when you're ready to do your own animating ISO and you're able to work with other people, by all means, already start working on it. Get that experience. Start networking. It will do amazing things for you in the future. Shade says, not see the money and success or people in important decisions are stupid. Well, bad producers. ISO says, if I can get Glitch to pick up one of my stories in the future, I would be ecstatic. I would be ecstatic as well. I would love to work with Glitch. I also wouldn't mind to work with a lower budget anime company to get some of my ideas off the ground. I think that'd be awesome. Shade says, but Disney was not like this always. How did this happen? It happened because people like Bob Iger came in, got drunk on their own power, never gave up power, and because they don't have a creative bone in their body, and they decided to compete with companies like Apple and Google, tried to turn Disney into it into an electronics company, but it isn't. It's an entertainment company. It's an entertainment company run by people who don't know entertainment. And that's how we got here. Josh, I guess the shipping wars will finally end. Well, Josh, unfortunately, the shipping wars are eternal. Even though we say that they've ended, I think that people will still be arguing various ships until they are dead. Meaning that the people arguing them have long since passed away and gone the way of all the earth. However, the veracity of the shipping wars will have definitely ended, and we will have peace. And until people find the next ship to argue about. Yes, Disney bought Marvel and Fox, and that's insane to me. How these people have not yet been hit with an antitrust law, I don't know. It's bonkers. Like My Hero Academia, do you see the last chapter? People are going crazy. Yeah, people are going crazy. A lot of people are upset about that their ship didn't set sail. I am going to sit around and wait. I'm going to sit around and wait to see what Horikoshi has to say now that the last chapter is published. I like the last chapter of My Hero Academia. It was a bittersweet ending, and I'd say I like it. But I can definitely see why the shippers were very angry. Me, I don't care really who Deku gets together with. I was always about Kirishima and Mina, and maybe they don't ever get together. And if they don't, well, so what? I'm fine. I'm fine with that. It's just a ship. I enjoy it, but I enjoy My Hero Academia more for the story than anything else. Dorcas asks, will there be a writing exercise to go along with tonight's lesson? My writing exercise ultimately, like, I don't really have one to prescribe, but what I would suggest is this, is that if you are interested in doing a magical school, try that out. Like, you don't need to go crazy in depth. Or if you really want to, if you want to try to just jump right into being a teacher, I want you to create a lesson teaching something about the magic or the science of the world that you are currently writing for. So like if you're writing something to do with sci-fi, I want you to write a class teaching people about a certain sci-fi aspect of your world. Or if you're writing a fantasy, I want you to write a class teaching people about a certain magical aspect of your world. Try it out. Because when you try to approach a subject from the perspective of a teacher, it immediately changes things. And you start really thinking about, how can I communicate this well to someone else? What do they really need to know? And how will I know that they've actually taken that in and that they have assimilated that information? Those are the kinds of fears that every teacher goes through. And when you put yourself into that perspective, you're like, oh, maybe I was a bit too harsh on my teachers as a student. And also then you begin to realize, maybe I need to approach some of my world building slightly differently, so that way my audience understands it better. Josh, if this is the end of Murder Jones, it has to be at least 32 to 40 minutes. I would love a half an hour long episode at least. 40 minutes? Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. I think it's going to be anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes is likely what we're going to get. I'm hoping that it's 30 minutes at least, because there's so much that needs to be wrapped up, so much that needs to be addressed, and I want to see it done properly. Shade, I can example do a fan fiction about magical school as different shows like Jujutsu Kaisen or Naruto. Doing a magical class in Jujutsu Kaisen might be right up your alley, man. So I suggest you try that. I've been meaning to finish the writing exercise from last stream. I've just been so burnt out, though. I think I'll get working on that again. Hey, here's the thing. If you don't feel like doing it, that's absolutely fine. These writing challenges and writing exercises are there to help us communicate better through the stream and to give you a chance to write something else and to practice, to experiment in order to improve your own storytelling. That's what this is about with lesson style teaching, get my words right. That's what we're trying to do with these quote unquote lessons during live streams, is just to give people a chance to communicate, learn a little bit, and try to put into practice these things that we talk about. Because I can put out all these different videos talking about the mechanics of writing, but until you actually put it into practice yourself, it's just an interesting video, and chances are you will never actually put it into practice. So these kinds of lessons and writing challenges are there to invite you to put it into practice if you want to. And if you do, then we'd love to see you share it, love to see your successes and learn from what you do. Dark Sage Dream says, I'm already typing out a concept school in Google Docs. Fantastic! Yeah. Nina, I've made a magical high school story before. It's not written, but just on my mind. Nina, you and I are in the exact same position. And that's absolutely fine. But one of these days, we got to get that concept out of our heads and onto the page where it will come to life. TV account, I know this might be off topic, but for my story, they do apprenticeships with either witches and knights. TV account, that's actually perfect because apprenticeships are their own thing. Apprenticeships require people to get that on-the-job training and experience all those on-the-job problems that you never get to in a classroom because that would absolutely derail a smooth going lesson. Apprenticeships are meant to be hands-on, meant to be dirty, and meant to be very practical. And there are actually some really great stories out there that explore the works of magic or of knights or even of magical knights through apprenticeships. There's actually a manga whose name right now is escaping me, which is about a knight and her wolf boy apprentice and the adventures that they go on. It's really, really good. It might send up some red flags for some people because of the romantic undertones to it, but it's such a great story. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find it. I've got a list of all these different manga right here. I'll have to go hunting for it and see if I can find it later on. It's a pretty good story. Murder Drones is legendary. It absolutely was, and it still is. And I'm just so looking forward to the next episode. I'm looking forward to being able to do the massive retrospective of the entire series because I think that there's so much that we can learn by reflecting on it, and there's so much that really the show should be praised for because it is a drivel that is being put out there by both publishing companies and by Hollywood. I know, but I want to. In terms of the writing challenge, it is fun and I enjoy sharing my creativity. Awesome, that's what we love. Brother, take your time. Don't worry, it's not school. We're not here to destroy you. But what is your type of which evil good, of which evil and good? European, Middle Eastern, Japanese. Man. I enjoy dabbling in all of that. With all of those. I mean, as a Westerner myself, like you end up writing more of what you're familiar with. So like, there's definitely a lot more Western perspective to a lot of my stories. But in my book, Bleed, Steam, and Steel, I really, really enjoyed capturing the perspectives of specifically Eastern, Middle Eastern, and Western cultures across different character arcs and different stories. And so you have like steampunk Middle East, you have steampunk Japan, you have steampunk London, and it was absolutely fun to tap into what those different cultures might look like in a steampunk fantasy situation. You have your heroes and your villains in all of those different areas. And in some cases, they were typical mustache-twirling villains. Others were way more dubious and menacing. Others were rather pathetic. It just depended on what best serviced the main characters as they went along their personal journeys. Josh says, Murder Drones has that feeling that just can't be explained. I agree. There is an interesting quality to Murder Drones that lacks a specific word. Where it is that combination of teenage angstiness and humor combined with Lovecraftian horror with a great spacefaring adventure told through robots. Like, how do you put that all into like one word or into a sentence that doesn't terrify people right off the bat, or give them a false impression of what kind of journey they're about to get on with murder drones, because there's so much that happens, so many different things. I guess the best way that I could explain murder drones is that murder drones is a Lovecraftian love letter to the horror genre across its entire varied spectrum. But while it is a love letter to all these different stories, it still tells its own unique tale of a young girl robot who feels like she doesn't have anywhere to go. She's an absolute outsider who becomes a morally gray hero alongside a lovable murder robot and his psychotic crush. And there's something oddly endearing about this horror story. I'm Omega. Honestly, I'm listening to songs from musicals. Am I the only one who imagined Mean Green Mother from Outer Space as an anime fight? I don't really know, but I do love certain songs from musicals. And speaking of musicals, I'm interested in seeing how Wicked turns out. Wicked being split. So people start to get the first half of the musical as one movie, then the second half of the musical as another movie. I'm interested in seeing how that goes down. I don't like how they've altered some of the music, but then again, I'm really weird. I first listened to Wicked in German, and so all of the songs sound wrong to me when sung in English. But there are some amazing musical bits that truly do, I'm Omega, make fantastic fight sequences. And people are like, that just shouldn't work. I'm like, oh, but it does. There's actually some religious songs that I have in mind that I'm writing battle scenes to. And it's just like, yeah, no one in their right mind. Like, this is bordering on blasphemy, but it's so cool. Nina, the magical school story I made is about a semi-demon person who creates a school to help children who are gifted, who were gifted curses with power to be able to understand their capabilities and turn them into good kids. I like that. That's a really cool idea, Nina. Go with that. That reminds me of a concept I once came up with for a normal school that has some students with amazing capabilities, and that they are basically put into kind of like an in-school suspension program, which is not really very fair to them, but to try to quarantine them from attacking other kids if their power should go out of control, within like superpowered teachers who are there, who are like trying to help them learn to integrate into the school and become good classmates and friends with everyone else. That was an idea I once came up with, but I really like what you've got right there. I hope that you write that up, because that sounds awesome. Shade, also remind the same culture and different types will be surprisingly different, like examples of the Middle East before becoming monotheistic. Yes, the Middle East was not always majority Islamic. There was a lot of different pagan religions across the Middle East and across most of the world before monotheism overthrew most of it. Mojo says, are you going to have any more Murder Drones live discussions before episode 8 releases? Maybe. It would depend on if there's any more information that comes out. If there is, then I'd be more than happy to talk about that. But I think that we'll have plenty to talk about within 3 weeks. And that being said, guys, wow, this has already gone on for more than 3 hours. Holy cow. I need to give my voice a rest, and I do still have some writing that I got to get done tonight before working on house repairs and the likes of that tomorrow. Whoop-de-doo. So, yay. Things to do. So I'm going to start wrapping up right here. Omega says, Marstora is a story about a group of anthropomorphic characters with ties to a group of elemental beings trying to stop crises tied to one or more antagonistic factions. Cool story. No, you're mistaken. The Middle East before it became an Islamic, was Christian. I'm talking about the ancient times like Gilgamesh. Yes, and let's also not forget the Zoroastrians, and all those other folk. But parts of the Middle East were Christian. The other parts were definitely not. The Middle East is definitely very varied, and I love looking at that particular history. But yes, coming back to it, no, the Middle East wasn't always Muslim. People need to understand that, and that also helps to explain actually a lot of its own unique ancient history, and why certain things have been preserved, and why certain things haven't been. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say, because I'm getting tired, and we got to wrap this up. I'm gonna make ask, where can we share our projects? You can share your projects over at our Discord, or you can share what you have always in the comments of our videos. We're always happy to see stuff posted there too. Hope the house repairs go well. Me as well. Thankfully, the tree that fell in the backyard did not fall in the house and did not take out another wall, but it does need to be removed. And it's kind of sad, because I like that tree. That was a really nice pine tree. But it means more pine wood for us for fires. Yay! When the winter rolls around. Mojo says, in 3 weeks, I would love to see how a golden retriever defeats an eternal entity. I do as well. I'm so looking forward to that. I have writing to do also. Now that I feel like I've gotten my head into the right place, I'm going to do those writing challenges from the previous streams now. Fantastic. I hope that everything goes well for you guys. And everyone, thank you so much for being around, sticking around for this very long live stream, or popping in whenever you have. You guys have always been really, really great. And thank you for making this live stream awesome, TV account, to everyone else. Because without you guys, it's just me speaking into the void. And it's a whole lot more fun when you guys are here. So thank you so much. I hope that you're doing fantastic. I look forward to talking more Murder Jones with you guys real soon. And